Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got Kagaya pregnant, and subscribe if you enjoy the video. And also check the description. So let's begin the story. The dimensional space trembled with raw, primordial power as Naruto Uzumaki faced down the mother of chakra herself. Kagaya Otsutsuki floated before him, her pale face expressionless, her Byakugan and Rinna Sharingan seeing through all deception, all hope, all resistance. Around them, the frozen wasteland of her ice dimension stretched endlessly, a realm of absolute zero where hope went to die. Naruto's breath crystallized in the air, each exhale a small cloud of defiance against the impossible cold. His orange and black jacket, tattered from endless battle, offered little protection, but he didn't need warmth. He had something far more powerful burning inside him. His blue eyes, reflecting the determination of someone who had never learned when to quit, locked onto Kagaya's otherworldly gaze. Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha stood ready, his Rinnegan active, electricity crackling around his form. Sakura had been separated from them moments ago, transported to another dimension by Kagaya's dimensional shift. Kakashi and Obito were managing what they could, but this battle had always been destined to come down to this. Team 7's two strongest members against the progenitor of all their power. You cannot win, children of Hagoromo, Kagaya's voice echoed across the frozen plain, devoid of emotion yet somehow carrying the weight of millennia. You wield the chakra that is mine by right. You exist because I allow it. Your struggle is meaningless. Naruto had heard variations of this speech before, from Zabuza, from Orochimaru, from Pain, from Madara. Every enemy believed they stood above him, that their power made them untouchable, that his will meant nothing against their strength. Every single one had been wrong. Yeah, I've heard it all before, Dada Bayo. Naruto shouted back, forming a Rasengan in his palm that swirled with the power of all nine-tailed beasts. The sphere of concentrated chakra hummed with barely contained destruction. But you're wrong about one thing, we're not just wielding your chakra. We made it our own. The power flowing through the shinobi world doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to everyone who's fought, everyone who's suffered, everyone who's dreamed of a better tomorrow. Sasuke's Susanoo materialized around him, the perfect warrior of chakra construct drawing its bow. Save your breath, Naruto. She won't understand through words. Maybe, Naruto admitted, not taking his eyes off Kagaya. But I've gotta try. Kagaya's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Was it curiosity? Contempt? With her, it was impossible to tell. She raised one pale hand, and the dimension began to shift, reality bending to her absolute will. The frozen wasteland began to melt away, replaced by a dimension of crushing gravity, attempting to pin them down like insects for observation. Naruto pushed back with his own chakra, the golden cloak of Kurama's power flaring around him. The clash of their energies created shockwaves that tore through the dimensional fabric. But as he pushed against her overwhelming force, something unexpected happened. Their chakras touched, really touched, in a way that went beyond mere combat. And in that instant of connection, Naruto felt something he had never expected to feel from the rabid goddess: profound, crushing loneliness. The sensation hit him like a physical blow, nearly making him drop his Rasengan. It was a loneliness that dwarfed even his own childhood isolation, a solitude measured not in years but in centuries, in millennia. Kagaya had been alone in ways he couldn't fully comprehend, betrayed by her own children, feared by the world she had tried to protect in her own twisted way, sealed away in darkness for 1,000 years with nothing but her own thoughts and regrets. Naruto staggered, and Sasuke immediately moved to cover him. Naruto! What's wrong? I felt. Naruto's words trailed off as he looked at Kagaya with new eyes. She wasn't just a goddess, wasn't just an enemy to be sealed away. She was someone who had been hurt, someone who had chosen power and control because she couldn't bear the pain of loss and betrayal anymore. He knew that feeling. He knew it intimately. How many times had he been tempted to push everyone away after losing someone? After Jiraiya died, hadn't a part of him wanted to shoulder everything alone? To never risk feeling that pain again? The only difference between him and Kagaya was that he'd had people who refused to let him walk that path. Iruka, Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke, Hinata, all of Konoha. Who had Kagaya had? Kagaya. Naruto called out, and this time his voice carried something different, not defiance, but something closer to understanding. You're alone, aren't you? That's why you're doing all this, not just for power, but because you can't trust anyone anymore. For the first time since the battle began, Kagaya's expression shifted. Her eyes widened fractionally, genuine surprise crossing her features. In 1,000 years, no one had spoken to her like this, not with hatred, not with fear, but with something approaching empathy. What do you know of loneliness, child? Her voice was colder than her ice dimension. You, who are surrounded by those who would die for you. You, who have never known true isolation. You're right. I haven't been alone as long as you have, Naruto admitted, his Rasengan dissipating. Sasuke shot him a sharp look, but didn't interfere. He had learned to trust Naruto's instincts, even when they seemed insane. But I know what it's like to be hated, to be feared, to have people look at you and see only a monster. I know what it's like to have the whole village want you gone just for existing. Kagaya descended slowly from the air, her feet touching the ground for the first time in their battle. The gesture felt significant, as if she was meeting him on equal ground rather than looking down from above. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, she said, tilting her head slightly. Yes, I can sense it within you, that beast my grandson sealed. But you are not merely a container, are you? You have made that power your own, formed a bond with the beast itself. How unexpected. His name is Kurama, Naruto said firmly. And yeah, we weren't always friends. He hated me, I was scared of him. But we talked, we understood each other, and now he's one of my most precious friends. Because that's what I do. I never give up on people, even when they've given up on themselves. Naruto. Sasuke's warning tone suggested he thought his friend was taking this too far. But Naruto ignored him, taking a step toward Kagaya. The goddess didn't attack, simply watched him with those ancient, terrible eyes. Up close, he could see things he'd missed before, the slight downturn of her mouth suggesting permanent sadness, the way her hands were clenched as if expecting betrayal, the subtle tension in her shoulders that spoke of someone who had never truly relaxed in centuries. Your son sealed you away, Naruto said quietly. Hagoromo and Hamura, they betrayed you, right? That's what you can't forgive. That's why you wanted to put everyone in the infinite Tsukuyomi. To control everything so you could never be hurt again. Kagaya's face remained impassive, but her chakra flared, the dimensional space around them cracking under the pressure of her emotion. They were my children. I loved them. I gave them everything, and they chose to side with the humans, those insects I had protected them from, those ungrateful creatures who would have destroyed themselves without my intervention. The raw pain in her voice was palpable, centuries of hurt condensed into those words. Naruto felt his chest tighten with sympathy. He thought of Konohamaru, of all the kids at the academy who looked up to him, of how devastated he would be if they turned on him, tried to seal him away. That must have hurt like hell, Naruto said, and he meant it. Being betrayed by your own kids, I can't even imagine how much that would hurt. But Kagaya, sealing everyone in a dream world, taking away their freedom and choices, that's not protecting them. That's just making sure you can never be hurt again, even if it means no one else can ever be truly happy either. Happy? Kagaya's laugh was bitter, a sound like breaking glass. What is happiness but a fleeting illusion? In the infinite Tsukuyomi, everyone would have their perfect dream. No pain, no suffering, no betrayal. Only peace. But it wouldn't be real. Naruto shot back. Don't you get it? Yeah, life hurts sometimes. Yeah, people betray you and things go wrong and you lose people you care about. But the good stuff, the real connections, the real love, the real bonds, those only mean something because they're real. Because we chose them, not because someone forced us into a dream. You speak of bonds, Kagaya said, taking a step closer to him. They were only a few feet apart now, close enough that Naruto could see his reflection in her pale eyes. But bonds break. Love turns to hatred. Trust becomes betrayal. I learned this truth at great cost, child. Everything I built, everything I fought for, my own flesh and blood destroyed. So you gave up, Naruto said, and there was no judgment in his voice, only sadness. You decided that if you couldn't trust anyone, you'd just control everything instead. But that's not living, Kagaya. That's just existing. Being alone forever because you're too scared to take a chance on people again. Something extraordinary happened then. A single tear formed in the corner of Kagaya's eye, the first tear she had shed in perhaps 1,000 years. It traced down her pale cheek like a falling star, and when it hit the ground, the entire dimension shuddered. You do not understand, she whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. You cannot understand. Maybe not all of it, Naruto agreed. But I understand enough. And I know that you don't really want to be alone forever, do you? Nobody does. Even someone as powerful as you, maybe especially someone as powerful as you, needs someone to connect with. Someone who won't betray you. Someone who'll stand by your side no matter what. Kagaya stared at him for a long moment, and Naruto could almost see the thoughts racing behind those ancient eyes. She was calculating, considering, weighing possibilities with an intelligence that had observed civilizations rise and fall. And you believe you could be that someone? She asked, her voice carrying a mix of skepticism and something else. Something that might have been hope, buried deep beneath layers of cynicism and pain. Naruto flashed his signature grin, that impossibly bright smile that had won over everyone from Kurama to Gaara, from Nagato to even Obito in his final moments. I've made friends with a lot of people who everyone said were too far gone. A demon fox, a guy who destroyed my village, another guy who started a war. If I can reach them, I can reach you too. Believe it. This is insane, Naruto, Sasuke interjected, his Sharingan analyzing every micro-expression on Kagaya's face for signs of deception. She's the enemy. She's tried to kill us. She wants to enslave the entire world. She's also alone, hurt, and scared, Naruto countered. And she doesn't have to be our enemy. Kagaya, I'm not saying everything you did was okay, it wasn't. But I'm saying there's another way. Instead of the infinite Tsukuyomi, instead of controlling everyone, what if you just tried again? Tried to connect with people without forcing them? Kagaya was silent for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. And if they betray me again? If they turn on me as my sons did? Then I'll be there, Naruto said without hesitation. I'll stand with you. I'll make sure you're never alone like that again. That's my ninja way. I never go back on my word. The dimension around them began to stabilize, the chaotic energy calming as Kagaya's emotional state shifted. She looked at Naruto with an expression that might have been wonder, might have been disbelief, might have been the first stirrings of something she hadn't felt in a millennium. Trust. You would make such a promise to the mother of chakra? To someone who has existed for longer than your civilization? You, a mere human child who will die in the blink of an eye compared to my lifespan? Yeah, I would, Naruto said firmly. Because that's what it means to be human. We don't live forever, so we make every connection count. We love people knowing we might lose them. We trust people knowing they might hurt us. And we do it anyway, because the alternative, being alone forever, is way worse than any pain. Kagaya reached out slowly, hesitantly, as if she had forgotten how to make a gentle gesture. Her pale hand touched Naruto's cheek, and he didn't flinch away. Her skin was cool, but not cold, ancient, but not lifeless. You remind me of them, she said softly. My sons, before the corruption. Before they chose the humans over their mother. They had your eyes. That same impossibly naive hope, that belief that everything could be made right through understanding and compassion. Then maybe they were onto something, Naruto suggested. Maybe they just went about it the wrong way. They didn't have to seal you away, Kagaya. They could have talked to you, tried to understand your side too. But they were scared, and you were hurt, and it all went wrong. But it doesn't have to go wrong this time. The goddess closed her eyes, and for a moment she looked almost human, tired, uncertain, vulnerable. When she opened them again, there was a subtle shift in her demeanor, as if a decision of cosmic importance had been made. Very well, Naruto Uzumaki, she said, and her voice carried the weight of an unbreakable vow. You have moved something in me that I thought died millennia ago. I will accept your proposition, but know this. I do not trust easily. I do not forgive easily. If this is some elaborate deception, if you betray me as my sons did, the consequences will be catastrophic beyond your comprehension. It's not a trick, Naruto promised, extending his hand for a shake. I meant every word. So, truce? Instead of sealing you away, instead of fighting, we work together to figure out what comes next. Kagaya stared at his extended hand as if it were the most alien thing she had ever encountered. Slowly, cautiously, she reached out and clasped it. Her grip was firm, and the moment their hands met, a pulse of chakra rippled out across all dimensions. Sasuke felt it. Sakura, wherever she was, felt it. Kakashi and Obito felt it. Back in the shinobi world, every sensor-type ninja suddenly paused, feeling a fundamental shift in the fabric of reality itself. The war was ending, but not in the way anyone had expected. This changes everything, Sasuke said, deactivating his Susanoo but keeping his guard up. The shinobi world won't accept this easily. They'll see her as a threat. Then we'll convince them, Naruto said with confidence he absolutely did not feel inside. He had just made a promise to a goddess that he wasn't entirely sure how to keep, but that had never stopped him before. We'll show them that Kagaya can change, that she's not the enemy anymore. It'll take time, but time, Kagaya interrupted, and there was something almost amused in her tone. Yes, you humans always worry about time. Very well. I will trust in your conviction, Naruto Uzumaki, but I will require more than mere words. If you truly mean to stand by your promise, to ensure I am never betrayed and alone again, then I propose a bond more permanent than simple friendship. What kind of bond? Naruto asked, suddenly wary. Kagaya's expression was unreadable as she spoke words that would change the course of history. Become my husband. Marry me, Naruto Uzumaki, and bind yourself to me in a way that cannot be easily broken. Show me that your promise is not empty, that your conviction is real. Be the companion I have lacked for 1,000 years. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the dimensional winds seemed to hold their breath. Sasuke's jaw dropped, actually dropped, for the first time Naruto could remember. She did not just propose to you. Naruto's mind had gone completely blank. Of all the ways he had imagined this battle ending, sealing Kagaya, defeating her, maybe even befriending her, marriage had never even entered the realm of possibility. He thought of Hinata, of her quiet confession during the pain attack, of the scarf she knitted him, of the feelings he'd been slowly recognizing in himself. But he also thought of his promise, made just moments ago. He thought of Kagaya's loneliness, her pain, her desperate need for connection that had driven her to try to enslave the world. He thought of what might happen if he said no now. Would she close herself off again? Would the war continue? Would all the progress they just made evaporate like morning dew? And beneath all of that, beneath the shock and the uncertainty, a small voice in his head, one that sounded suspiciously like Jiraiya, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was meant to be, that maybe his path had always been leading towards something unprecedented, something that would truly change the world in ways no one had ever imagined. Naruto started then stopped. He looked into Kagaya's eyes and saw the vulnerability there, the fear that he would reject her, the desperate hope that he wouldn't. And he made a decision that only Naruto Uzumaki could make. Okay, he said simply. I'll marry you. The words hung in the air like a pronouncement of fate. Kagaya's eyes widened fractionally, genuine surprise crossing her features for the second time that day. You accept? Yeah, Naruto said, warming to the idea even as his brain screamed at him that this was insane. You want proof that I won't abandon you? That I'll keep my promise? Then yeah, I'll marry you. I'll be your husband. We'll figure this out together, and I'll show you that you don't have to be alone anymore. Kagaya stepped forward and, in a gesture that was surprisingly gentle for someone so ancient and powerful, she placed her hand over Naruto's heart. He could feel her chakra probing, not invasively, but searchingly, as if trying to determine if this was real or some elaborate illusion. You are either the bravest human I have ever encountered, she said softly, or the most foolish. Perhaps both. But I find that I am glad. For the first time in 1,000 years, I feel something other than rage and betrayal. This feeling, is this what you humans call hope? Yeah, Naruto said, covering her hand with his own. That's hope. And trust me, it's way better than the alternative. Sasuke pinched the bridge of his nose, looking like he was developing a migraine. The shinobi world is going to lose their minds. You realize that, right? You just agreed to marry the woman who tried to enslave everyone. Then we'll deal with it together, Naruto said firmly, looking at both Sasuke and Kagaya. All of us. Because that's what Team 7 does. We take the impossible missions and make them work. Kagaya tilted her head, a gesture that was almost curious. Team 7? My team, Naruto explained. Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi-sensei, and me. We've been through everything together. We've fought, we've grown, we've nearly killed each other a few times. But at the end of the day, we're family. And now, I guess you're going to be part of that family too. For the first time since time immemorial, Kagaya smiled. It was a small thing, barely a curve of her lips, but it transformed her face entirely. She looked younger, more human, more alive than she had in centuries. Family, she repeated, as if tasting the word. Yes. I would like that. The dimension around them began to shift again, but this time it was gentle, controlled. Kagaya was returning them to the real world, to the shinobi battlefield where their allies waited. As the frozen wasteland faded away, Naruto found himself wondering what exactly he had just gotten himself into. He'd made a lot of impulsive decisions in his life, attacking Mizuki to defend Irika, stealing the Forbidden Scroll, charging after Sasuke, declaring he'd become Hokage, but marrying an ancient goddess to prevent a war? That was definitely a new one, even for him. But as they materialized back in the real world, as he saw the shocked faces of the shinobi army, as he felt Kagaya's hand slip into his with an almost shy uncertainty, Naruto couldn't help but grin. This was going to be one hell of a story to tell his kids someday. The war was over. A new chapter was beginning. And Naruto Uzumaki, the knucklehead ninja who had befriended a demon fox and stopped a cycle of hatred, was about to embark on his greatest adventure yet, teaching the mother of chakra how to love again. The sun was rising over the battlefield, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, and for the first time in 1,000 years, Kagaya Otsutsuki stood beneath it willingly, her hand held by someone who had promised never to let her fall into darkness again. It was, Naruto thought, a pretty good start. The return to the real world was jarring in its sudden normalcy. One moment they had been standing in an otherworldly dimension of ice and impossible geometries, and the next, Naruto's feet were touching the scorched earth of the Fourth Shinobi World War's battlefield. The acrid smell of smoke and blood filled his nostrils, a harsh reminder that while his confrontation with Kagaya had felt timeless, here mere minutes had passed. The battlefield had gone completely silent. Thousands of shinobi stood frozen, their weapons still raised, their jutsu still crackling with unreleased energy. Every eye was locked on the impossible sight before them. Naruto Uzumaki and Kagaya Otsutsuki, standing side by side, their hands clasped together like, is that? Someone whispered from the Konoha ranks. The rabbit goddess, another voice breathed in horror. But Naruto's, he's holding her hand. The reactions rippled through the army like a shockwave. Confusion. Fear. Disbelief. Naruto could feel the tension in the air, thick enough to cut with a kunai. These people had just been fighting for their lives against the White Setsu army, had watched as Madara was consumed by Kagaya's overwhelming presence, had felt the despair of facing an enemy that seemed utterly invincible. And now here she was, apparently docile, standing beside their greatest hero like a teammate rather than a destroyer of worlds. Kakashi was the first to move, his visible eye wide with shock as he limped forward. His borrowed Sharingan was gone now, returned to Obito in those final moments before Kagaya's appearance. But his natural eye saw clearly enough, saw the subtle shift in Kagaya's posture, the way she stood slightly closer to Naruto than strictly necessary, the almost protective way her free hand hovered near him. Naruto, Kakashi called out carefully, his voice carrying across the silent battlefield. What exactly happened in there? Naruto took a deep breath. This was it. The moment where he had to explain the inexplicable, justify the unjustifiable, and somehow convince an army of traumatized shinobi that the goddess who had been trying to kill them all was now, what? Reformed? Redeemed? His fiancée? Yeah, this was going to go over really well. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto began, then paused. How did you even start this conversation? Hey everyone, good news. I talked the primordial goddess into not enslaving humanity, and all it cost was agreeing to marry her. That sounded insane, even in his own head. Sasuke appeared beside him in a flicker of movement, having used his Rinnegan to teleport. His presence was both a relief and a complication. Sasuke would back him up, Naruto knew, but his friend also wouldn't sugarcoat the situation for the crowd. The immediate threat is over, Sasuke announced, his voice carrying the authority of the last Uchiha. Kagaya has agreed to a ceasefire. The details are complicated. Complicated? The voice belonged to Gaara, the Kazekage, who emerged from the crowd of shinobi. His sand swirled around him defensively, but his expression was more concerned than hostile. Sasuke, that's the progenitor of chakra. She wanted to put the entire world in a genjutsu. What could possibly be complicated about stopping her? Kagaya spoke then, and every shinobi in hearing range tensed. Her voice was different from before, still carrying that otherworldly quality, but softer, almost contemplative. I am not your enemy, she stated simply. Not anymore. The disbelief was palpable. Someone in the crowd, Naruto thought it might have been Kiba, barked out a laugh that sounded more like hysteria than humor. Not our enemy? You literally tried to kill us all like 5 minutes ago. I was mistaken. The words seemed to cost Kagaya something to say. Her grip on Naruto's hand tightened fractionally. I acted from fear and pain, not wisdom. This one, she gestured to Naruto with her free hand, has shown me that there may be another path. Another path? This time it was Shikamaru who spoke up, his tactical mind already racing through scenarios. What kind of path are we talking about here? Because from where I'm standing, this looks like the prelude to the most elaborate trap in history. Naruto could feel Kagaya's chakra spike at the accusation, could sense her instinctive defensive response. Quickly he squeezed her hand, partly in reassurance, partly in warning. She glanced at him, and he gave her a look that said, "See? This is what I meant about trust. Let me handle this." To his surprise, she gave a minute nod and fell silent. "It's not a trap," Naruto said firmly, looking out at the sea of skeptical faces. He saw familiar ones, Lee, Tenten, Choji Ino, all looking at him like he'd grown a second head. "I know how this looks. I know you're all confused and scared and probably think I've lost my mind. But please, just hear me out. We're listening, Naruto," Kakashi said, though his body language remained tense, ready to react to any threat. "But make it good. We've all seen what she's capable of." Naruto organized his thoughts, trying to find the right words. "You all know my story, right? How I grew up with Kurama sealed inside me. How the village hated me for it. How I was alone." Murmurs of acknowledgement rippled through the crowd. "Well, Kagaya's been through something similar. Except imagine being alone not for years, but for centuries. Imagine being betrayed not by strangers, but by your own children. Imagine being sealed away in darkness for 1,000 years with nothing but your own pain and anger to keep you company." "That doesn't excuse what she tried to do," someone called out. "No, it doesn't," Naruto agreed. "But it explains it. And more than that, it means she can change, just like Gaara changed, just like Nagato could have changed if I'd reached him sooner, just like Obito started to change at the end. People, even goddesses, aren't beyond redemption if they're willing to try." Gaara stepped forward, his sand lowering slightly. "Naruto speaks from experience. He changed me from a monster into someone who could protect others instead of destroying them. If he believes Kagaya can change, then I'm willing to listen." "Thank you, Gaara," Naruto said gratefully. "Look, I'm not asking everyone to trust her completely right away. I'm just asking for a chance to show that this can work, that we can find a solution that doesn't involve sealing her away and hoping the seal holds for another 1,000 years. And what guarantee do we have that she won't just attack us the moment our guard is down?" This question came from someone in the Cloud Village contingent, their voice sharp with suspicion. Naruto took a deep breath. This was it, the moment of truth. Because she and I made a promise to each other. A binding promise. We're getting married. The silence that followed was so complete that Naruto could hear individual heartbeats in the crowd. Then chaos erupted. "What?" The collective shout came from what seemed like every shinobi on the battlefield simultaneously. "Married?" Sakura's voice cut through the din as she pushed her way to the front of the crowd, having apparently been transported back from whatever dimension Kagaya had sent her to. Her green eyes were wide with shock, her mouth hanging open. Naruto, please tell me I misheard that. You didn't mishear, Sasuke confirmed, his tone suggesting he still couldn't quite believe it himself. Ino grabbed Sakura's arm, her own face pale. This is insane. He can't marry her. She's the most powerful being in existence who was about to enslave humanity. Shikamaru supplied dryly. Yeah, we're aware. This is troublesome on so many levels I don't even know where to start. But it was another voice that cut through the chaos. One that made Naruto's heart sink into his stomach. Naruto-kun? Hinata stood at the edge of the crowd, her pale eyes, so similar to Kagaya's Byakugan yet so different in their gentleness, locked on him with an expression of absolute devastation. Her hands were clasped in front of her chest, trembling slightly, and Naruto could see the tears already forming. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. In the whirlwind of everything that had happened, in the heat of making his decision, Naruto had completely forgotten about Hinata's confession, about the feelings he'd been starting to recognize in himself, about the future he'd been unconsciously imagining. Hinata, he started, but what could he say? How could he explain this in a way that wouldn't hurt her? Kagaya's gaze shifted to Hinata, her Byakugan analyzing the young Hyuga heiress with cold precision. This one has feelings for you, she observed, her tone neutral but her grip on Naruto's hand tightening possessively. She is of the Hyuga clan, descendants of my son Homura. Distant blood of my blood. Please don't make this weirder than it already is, Naruto muttered, then louder, to Hinata, Hinata, I'm so sorry. I didn't plan this, I swear. It happened, and I meant what I said to Kagaya. I never go back on my word. Hinata's tears finally spilled over, running down her cheeks in silent streams. But when she spoke, her voice was stronger than Naruto expected. You're doing this to save everyone, aren't you? To prevent the war from continuing? That's part of it, Naruto admitted. But it's also because she needs someone, Hinata. She's been alone for so long, and I can't just abandon her now. I can't? Of course you can't, Hinata said, and there was no bitterness in her voice, only sad understanding. That's who you are, Naruto-kun. You save people, even when it costs you everything. She bowed formally, tears still flowing. Then I wish you happiness. Both of you. She turned and walked away before Naruto could respond, and he felt like the worst person in the world. Kiba and Shino immediately went after her, shooting Naruto looks that were equal parts accusatory and sympathetic. Smooth, Naruto, Sakura said, but her anger seemed tempered by sadness. Really smooth. Kagaya watched Hinata's retreating form with something that might have been curiosity, or might have been calculation. She cares for you deeply. Such devotion is rare. Are you certain you wish to? I made my choice, Naruto interrupted, perhaps more sharply than he intended. I chose you, Kagaya. I'm not going to back out now just because it's hard. Something softened in Kagaya's expression. Even when it causes you pain to honor your word to me? Especially then, Naruto said firmly. That's what it means to really commit to someone. It's not just about the easy times. The army of shinobi was still processing, still trying to come to terms with this bizarre turn of events. Kakashi stepped forward, his expression grave. Naruto, I need you to understand what you're proposing here. This isn't just about you and your personal relationships. You're talking about binding yourself to someone who, just minutes ago, was the greatest threat to world peace in history. The political ramifications alone. I know, Naruto said. I know it's complicated. I know people are going to be scared and angry. But Kakashi-sensei, what's the alternative? We seal her away again, and in another 1,000 years someone else has to deal with this problem? Or we try something new, something that's never been done before. We give her a reason to protect this world instead of destroying it? By marrying her. Kakashi said it flatly, like he was trying to make sense of an equation that didn't add up. By giving her family, Naruto corrected. By showing her that bonds don't have to end in betrayal, that trust isn't a weakness, that she doesn't have to control everything to be safe. Tsunade pushed through the crowd, the fifth Hokage looking like she'd aged 10 years in the last 10 minutes. Brat, do you have any idea what you're suggesting? The legal framework alone. Can you even marry someone who isn't technically a citizen of any nation? What about the fact that she's effectively immortal and you're not? What about, Tsunade-sama, Kagaya interrupted, and the Hokage immediately tensed. I understand your concerns. But I assure you, I have no intention of harming Naruto Uzumaki or breaking the vow we have made. He has offered me something I thought lost forever, the possibility of trust, of connection. I will not squander that gift, and if you change your mind? Tsunade challenged. If you decide next week that humanity isn't worth the trouble after all, then I will have broken my word to Naruto, Kagaya said simply. And in doing so, I will have proven that I am exactly the monster you all believe me to be. I do not wish to be that creature any longer. There was something in her voice, a vulnerability, a genuine desire to change, that gave even the most skeptical shinobi pause. This didn't sound like the cold, emotionless goddess who had tried to put them all in the infinite Tsukuyumi. This sounded like someone who was trying, however awkwardly, to reach out. Shikamaru sighed heavily. This is going to be such a drag to explain to the other nations. The political summit alone will take months, so we have months to figure it out, Naruto said, sensing an opening. We don't have to solve everything today. We just have to agree to try. Gaara nodded slowly. Naruto has earned the benefit of the doubt. If he believes this is the path to true peace, then the Sand Village will support him. The Mist will, tentatively agree, Mei Terumi added, stepping forward. The Mizukage looked exhausted, her usually immaculate appearance disheveled from battle. Though we'll want guarantees. Lots of guarantees. The stone will need convincing, Kuratsuchi, granddaughter of the Tsuchikage, said carefully. But we're willing to discuss terms. Slowly, grudgingly, the other Kages and village representatives began to nod. They didn't like it, that much was clear. But they recognized that Naruto had somehow pulled off the impossible again. He turned an enemy into an ally through sheer force of will and an apparently unlimited capacity for empathy. Then it settled, Kakashi said, though he looked like he wanted to sit down and drink heavily. We'll arrange a summit to discuss the terms of this arrangement. In the meantime, Naruto, Kagaya will be your responsibility. If anything goes wrong, it won't, Naruto promised. I'll make sure of it. As the crowd began to disperse, the adrenaline of battle giving way to exhaustion and confusion, Sakura approached Naruto. Her expression was complicated, part exasperation, part concern, part something that might have been grudging admiration. You really are the most unpredictable ninja, she said, shaking her head. Marrying a goddess to end a war. That's peak Naruto right there. I didn't really plan it, Naruto admitted. It just sort of happened. Things just sort of happen around you a lot, Sakura observed. Then, more seriously, are you sure about this? Really sure? Because once you commit to this path, there's no going back. Naruto looked at Kagaya, who was standing slightly apart from the crowd, watching the shinobi with wary eyes like a wild animal uncertain of its welcome. She looked powerful and ancient, and completely out of place, and yet when she met his gaze, there was something almost hopeful in her expression. Yeah, Naruto said. I'm sure. It's crazy and complicated and probably going to cause a million problems, but I'm sure. Sakura punched his arm, not hard enough to injure, but hard enough to sting. Then I guess I'll be attending the weirdest wedding in shinobi history. You better invite me, idiot. Of course. Naruto grinned. You're part of Team 7. You'll probably be helping plan the thing. Oh god, I'm going to have to plan a wedding for the mother of Chakra, Sakura muttered, looking slightly nauseated. What's the protocol for that? What do you even serve at a reception for a goddess? We'll figure it out, Naruto said, his optimism apparently unshakable. We always do. As night fell over the battlefield, medics moving among the wounded and exhausted shinobi settling down to rest, Naruto found himself sitting on a piece of rubble with Kagaya beside him. The goddess sat stiffly, clearly unused to casual proximity. But she didn't move away. You are different from my sons, she said quietly, her eyes on the stars above. They feared what I might become. You seem to have no fear at all. Oh, I'm terrified, Naruto admitted. I'm scared I'll mess this up, scared I won't be able to help you the way I promised, scared that everyone's right and this is a huge mistake. Then why do it? Naruto was quiet for a moment, gathering his thoughts. Because I've been scared before, and I did the thing anyway. Because someone once told me that the true measure of a shinobi isn't in never feeling fear, but in facing it head on. And because... He turned to look at her, meeting those ancient eyes. Because I really do believe you can change. I believe everyone can, if they're willing to try. Kagaya reached out tentatively, her hand hovering near his face before finally, gently, touching his cheek. It was the same gesture she'd made in her dimension, but this time there was less uncertainty, more intention. I will try, she promised. For you, Naruto Uzumaki, I will try to be more than the monster history remembers. I will try to be worthy of this second chance you have given me. You already are, Naruto said, covering her hand with his. You just have to believe it. Above them, the stars shone on, uncaring witnesses to a moment that would echo through history. The Fourth Shinobi World War had ended not with a sealing or a death, but with a promise between a young hero and an ancient goddess that maybe, just maybe, there was a better way forward. And in the morning, when the sun rose on a world forever changed, Naruto Uzumaki would begin the strangest, most challenging mission of his life, teaching the mother of chakra how to love again, and in doing so, securing a peace that no one had thought possible. But tonight, sitting under the stars with his goddess fiancée, Naruto allowed himself a moment of quiet hope. It was going to be okay. Somehow, against all odds, it was going to work out. After all, that was his ninja way. The dawn that broke over the battlefield was unlike any other in shinobi history. The air still carried the acrid tang of battle, but beneath it was something else, a tentative sense of possibility, fragile as morning frost. Naruto hadn't slept much, his mind too full of everything that had happened, everything that was about to happen. Beside him, Kagaya sat in perfect stillness, watching the sun rise with eyes that had witnessed this sight thousands of times yet seemed to be seeing it anew. Do you need to sleep? She asked suddenly, not looking away from the horizon. I had forgotten. Humans require rest. I'm fine, Naruto lied, then amended at her sharp look. Okay, I'm exhausted, but I'm too wired to sleep. There's too much to figure out. Then we shall figure it out together. Kagaya stood gracefully, her white robe somehow immaculate despite everything. She extended her hand to him, a gesture that was becoming familiar. Come. We should speak with your leaders about the terms of our arrangement. Our engagement, you mean, Naruto corrected, taking her hand and pulling himself up. His muscles protested. He'd been in battle mode for what felt like days. It's not just an arrangement, Kagaya. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. Something flickered across her face. Surprise? Pleasure? It was gone before Naruto could identify it. As you say. Your engagement. The words sounded foreign in her mouth, like she was speaking a language she'd never quite mastered. Naruto squeezed her hand gently, offering reassurance. She was trying, and that meant everything. The command tent had been set up during the night, a temporary headquarters where the 5 Kages and their advisors were coordinating the aftermath of the war. As Naruto and Kagaya approached, he could see the guards tense, their hands moving instinctively toward their weapons before forcing themselves to relax. It was going to take time for people to stop seeing her as a threat. Inside the tent, the atmosphere was thick with tension and the smell of strong tea. Tsunade sat at the head of a makeshift table, looking like she hadn't slept either. The other Kages were present, Gaara, Mei Teremi, A from the cloud, and Kuratsuchi representing the stone. Kakashi stood to one side with Shikaka Nara, both of them studying what appeared to be hastily drawn maps and documents. All conversation stopped when Kagaya entered. Lady Tsunade, Naruto began, using the formal address instinctively. We're here to discuss. Sit down, brat, Tsunade interrupted, gesturing to 2 empty seats. We've been up all night trying to figure out the political nightmare you've dropped in our laps. Kagaya didn't sit immediately. Her eyes swept the room, analyzing each Kage with the casual precision of someone who could destroy them all with a thought. The Kages, to their credit, held their ground, though Naruto could see the sweat beading on A's forehead. They fear me, Kagaya observed quietly. Can you blame them? Mei asked, her voice carefully neutral. No offense, but you did try to enslave humanity yesterday. I am aware of what I did, Kagaya replied, and there was something almost like shame in her tone. I do not expect forgiveness. I expect only the opportunity to prove that I am different now. Because of Naruto, Gaara said, his sands swirling gently around him in an unconscious defensive gesture. You claim that he changed your mind about the infinite Tsukuyami? He reminded me of what I had forgotten, Kagaya corrected, finally taking her seat. Naruto sat beside her, acutely aware of every eye in the room tracking their movements. That power without connection is meaningless. That control without trust is merely fear given form. That I have been alone for too long. The raw vulnerability in her words created a moment of uncomfortable silence. These were hard people, leaders who had seen and done terrible things in the name of their villages, but there was something universally recognizable in the admission of loneliness. Shikaka cleared his throat, shuffling through papers. Right. Well, let's discuss the practical matters, shall we? Naruto, you claim that you and Lady Kagaya are engaged. What exactly does that mean in concrete terms? It means I'm going to marry her, Naruto said simply. We'll have a wedding, make it official, and she'll be part of Konoha. Part of the village, part of Konoha, Tsunade repeated, her amber eyes sharp. You want to make the mother of chakra, the progenitor of all shinobi abilities, a citizen of the Hidden Leaf Village? Why not? Naruto challenged. She has to be somewhere, right? And I'm from Konoha, so it makes sense. The political implications, he rumbled, his deep voice filling the tent. If Kagaya becomes a Konoha citizen, that gives the Leaf an insurmountable military advantage. The balance of power among the villages would be completely destroyed. I have no intention of serving as a weapon, Kagaya interjected coldly. I am no one's tool, Raikage. I agreed to this union with Naruto, not with your political structures. Nevertheless, you'll exist within those structures, Kuratsuchi pointed out. You'll need documentation, a legal identity, a place in society. You can't just float around as some kind of divine anomaly. Kagaya's expression suggested that she could, in fact, do exactly that, but Naruto jumped in before she could say so. What if she's not affiliated with any single village? What if we make her status neutral? Like, she's married to me, but she's not technically a shinobi of any nation. A sovereign entity, Shikaka murmured, his strategic mind clearly working through possibilities. Married to a Konoha shinobi, but maintaining her own independent status. It's unprecedented, but it might work. It would require treaties, Mei said, warming to the idea. Agreements with all 5 nations that Kagaya won't interfere in political matters, won't take sides in conflicts, won't use her abilities to favor one village over another. I have no interest in your squabbles, Kagaya said dismissively. Human politics have always been tedious. You say that now, Tsunade muttered, but wait until you've been to a few Kage summits. Tedious doesn't begin to cover it. She fixed Kagaya with a hard stare. But if you're serious about this neutrality, about not interfering, we'll need more than your word. We'll need binding agreements. A contract, Kagaya said slowly. You wish me to sign a human contract. Multiple contracts, Shikaka corrected. Peace treaties with each nation, non-aggression pacts, agreements about the use of your abilities, restrictions on creating white setsu or manipulating chakra on a global scale. I will not be caged again. Kagaya's voice dropped to a dangerous level, her chakra beginning to seep into the air like frost. I will not be controlled, restricted, bound by your rules and your fears. The temperature in the tent plummeted. Naruto felt rather than saw the Kages preparing their defenses, felt the moment teetering on the edge of violence. Kagaya, he said quietly, putting his hand on her arm. They're not trying to cage you. They're trying to help everyone feel safe, including you. Think about it. If you have agreements with all the nations, if everyone knows what the rules are, then no one can accuse you of breaking them. It protects you as much as it protects them. Her eyes, those terrible all-seeing eyes, focused on him. You believe this? I do, Naruto said firmly. I know you don't like restrictions, but this isn't about not trusting you. It's about building something new. We're making up the rules as we go here, and everyone needs to feel like they have a say. Kagaya was silent for a long moment, and Naruto could practically see her warring with herself. The ancient instinct to reject any limitation on her power versus this new, fragile desire to try things differently. Very well, she finally said. I will review your treaties. I will consider your restrictions. But I will not agree to anything that truly limits my ability to protect myself. Or Naruto. The possessive addition of his name made several people in the room exchange glances, but Tsunade just nodded. Fair enough. We'll have our legal teams draft something. It'll take a few weeks at minimum. A few weeks? Naruto blinked. For what? For drafting international treaties involving an immortal goddess, Kakashi said dryly, speaking up for the first time. These things take time, Naruto. We're literally creating new legal frameworks from scratch. Which brings us to the other matter, Gaara said, his calm voice cutting through the discussion. The wedding itself. When and where will it take place? What traditions will be observed? Will it be a public ceremony or private? Naruto hadn't thought that far ahead. Hell, he barely processed the fact that he was actually getting married. It should be public, Mei said decisively. A demonstration that this alliance is real, that Kagaya is truly integrating into society. Private ceremonies breed suspicion, but not too public, Kuratsuchi countered. We don't want to make it look like a military parade. It needs to feel genuine, not like propaganda. It should honor both parties, Gaara suggested. Traditional shinobi elements for Naruto, but also acknowledgement of Kagaya's Otsutsuki heritage. I have no traditions to honor, Kagaya said quietly. The Otsutsuki do not. We did not marry for love or companionship. Unions were strategic, designed to produce powerful offspring. She looked at Naruto with something approaching wonder. This is entirely new to me. The admission created another moment of silence, this one less tense and more thoughtful. These hardened warriors and politicians were confronted with the reality that Kagaya, for all her power and age, was as uncertain about this as any of them. Then we'll make new traditions, Naruto declared. We'll figure it out together, make it mean something real. Not just a political statement, but an actual wedding, the kind where two people promise to stand by each other. How romantic, Tsunade said, though her sarcasm was softened by the small smile tugging at her lips. You always were a sentimental brat. Fine. We'll plan a wedding. But Naruto, you need to understand something. This won't just be your wedding. It'll be a historic event, watched by the entire shinobi world. Every detail will be scrutinized, analyzed, politicized. Are you prepared for that? Naruto thought about it, really thought about it. He remembered Hinata's tears, remembered the shocked faces of his friends, remembered the weight of all those eyes on him on the battlefield. This would be worse, months of attention, of debate, of people questioning his decision and his sanity. But he also remembered Kagaya's smile and her eyes' dimension, remembered the hope in her eyes when he'd agreed to marry her, remembered the feeling that he was doing something that mattered. Yeah, he said. I'm prepared. Or at least I will be. Good, Tsunade stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Then here's what's going to happen. Shikaka and the other advisors will draft the treaties. Kakashi, you'll be Naruto's representative in the planning process. Someone needs to keep him from making completely ridiculous decisions. Hey! Naruto protested. You once painted the Hokage monument because you thought it would be funny, Kakashi pointed out. Forgive us for not trusting your judgment completely. As for you, Lady Kagaya, Tsunade continued, fixing the goddess with a stern look, you'll need to make yourself available for discussions, negotiations, and yes, wedding planning. You're going to have to interact with people, answer questions, demonstrate that you're serious about this change. Can you do that? Kagaya stood as well, drawing herself up to her full height. Despite being shorter than several people in the room, she somehow managed to look down at all of them. I can. Though I warn you, I have little patience for foolishness. You're marrying Naruto. Sakura's voice came from the tent entrance, where she'd apparently been waiting. You're going to need a lot of patience for foolishness. Sakura-chan. Naruto whined, but he was grinning. The tension in the tent finally broke, replaced by something approaching normalcy. The Kages began to file out, each of them stopping to say a few words to Naruto. Warnings, mostly, but also grudging acceptance. Gaara clasped his shoulder firmly. You're choosing a difficult path, my friend, the Kazekage said quietly. But you've never chosen the easy one. I trust you know what you're doing. I'm figuring it out as I go, Naruto admitted. Aren't we all? Gaara smiled slightly. If you need the San's support, you have it. As the others left, Sakura approached Kagaya directly, her green eyes assessing. So, we're really doing this. You're really going to marry my teammate? I am, Kagaya confirmed, meeting Sakura's gaze steadily. Then we need to establish some ground rules, Sakura said firmly. First, you hurt him, and goddess or not, I will find a way to make you regret it. Second, you don't get to use your power to win arguments. Third, Sakura, what are you doing? Naruto asked, bewildered. Someone has to give her the shovel talk, Sakura said matter-of-factly. And since you don't have parents to do it, it falls to your friends. So, Lady Kagaya, do we understand each other? To everyone's surprise, Kagaya's lips curved into what might have been a smile. You are protective of him. This is good. He should have people who care enough to threaten even me on his behalf. She inclined her head slightly. I accept your terms, Sakura Haruno. I will not hurt him, I will not abuse my power, and I will— What is the third rule? Be patient with him, Sakura finished. He means well, but he's an idiot sometimes. You'll need patience. I have existed for millennia, Kagaya said. Patience is one thing I have in abundance. Good. Sakura turned to Naruto. As for you, you knucklehead, you're going to need help with this. Wedding planning, political negotiations, figuring out how to actually be married to an ancient goddess, it's a lot. So I'm going to help, whether you like it or not. I was hoping you would, Naruto admitted. I have no idea what I'm doing, Sakura-chan. I know. That's why you have friends. She looked between them, her expression softening. This is insane. Absolutely insane. But if anyone can make it work, it's you, Naruto. You've done the impossible before. After Sakura left, Naruto and Kagaya found themselves alone in the tent. The morning sun was fully up now, streaming through gaps in the canvas, painting everything in gold. Your friend is formidable, Kagaya observed. She does not fear me. Sakura doesn't fear much, Naruto said proudly. She's one of the strongest people I know. You'll like her, once you get to know her. I am uncertain about the concept of friendship, Kagaya admitted. I had Ano once, long ago. But that was before everything. Before betrayal, before sealing, before I became what I am now. Then you'll learn, Naruto said confidently. That's what these next few weeks are for, learning about each other. About what this marriage is going to mean, about how to build something new. Kagaya turned to face him fully, her expression serious. Naruto Uzumaki, I wish to formalize our engagement properly. Not the rushed agreement made in the heat of battle, but something intentional, something meaningful. What do you mean? She reached up, and Naruto felt a strange sensation as she drew out a thread of pure chakra from her own being. It shimmered in the air like liquid light, neither hot nor cold but somehow essential, fundamental. She shaped it with delicate precision, weaving it into a form that slowly solidified, a ring, simple but beautiful, made of crystallized chakra that glowed with a soft, pearlescent light. In my time, when my people made rare alliances, they exchanged tokens of their essence, she explained. This is part of me, freely given, shaped into a symbol of my commitment to you. Will you accept it? Naruto stared at the ring, awed. It was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. But more than that, he could feel Kagaya in it. Her power, yes, but also something softer, more vulnerable. She was giving him a piece of herself, literally. Kagaya, yes. Yes, I'll accept it. He held out his hand, and she slipped the ring onto his finger. It resized automatically to fit perfectly, warm against his skin. And now, she said, you should give me something in return. It need not be made of chakra. Whatever feels right to you. Naruto's mind raced. What did he have that could possibly match what she'd just given him? He wasn't a craftsman, couldn't make jewelry or art. All he had was— his hand went to his neck, to the necklace Tsunade had given him, the first Hokage's necklace that had been passed down through generations. It was precious to him, a symbol of being recognized, of being trusted with something important. But no, that belonged to Konoha's history, not to him personally. Then his fingers brushed against something else, the small, worn photograph he always kept in his pocket. It was creased and faded, showing Team 7 in their early days, himself, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi, all smiling. Well, Kakashi's eye was crinkled in what passed for a smile. It was one of his most treasured possessions, proof that he'd found people who accepted him, who became his precious people. Here, he said, pulling it out carefully. This is my team. My family. The people who made me who I am. I want you to have it, because now you're part of that family too. Kagaya took the photograph with reverent care, studying each face. This is important to you. It's one of the most important things I own, Naruto confirmed. It reminds me of where I came from, of what I'm fighting for. And now it can remind you too, of the bonds we're building, of the promise we made. She tucked the photograph carefully into her robes, close to her heart. Then I will treasure it. And I will do my best to be worthy of a place in your family, Naruto Uzumaki. They stood there for a moment, two people from impossibly different worlds, connected by a promise and a growing understanding. Outside, the shinobi world was beginning to wake up fully, to process what had happened, to prepare for whatever came next. But in that tent, in that moment, it was just them, a boy who'd never given up on anyone and a goddess who'd forgotten how to hope, taking the first real steps toward an impossible future together. So, Naruto said eventually, I guess we should figure out where you're going to stay. I mean, I have an apartment in Konoha, but it's kind of small and messy and probably not really appropriate for, you know, the mother of chakra. Kagaya tilted her head, considering. I have not had a home in. I cannot remember how long. The concept is strange to me. Then we'll make it less strange, Naruto decided. Come on. Let's go to Konoha, and I'll show you around. You should see the place where I grew up, where we're going to build our life together. Very well. She took his hand, the gesture becoming more natural each time. Show me your home, Naruto. Show me this world you believe is worth protecting. As they left the tent together, walking into the bright morning sun, Naruto couldn't help but feel that despite all the challenges ahead, the political negotiations, the wedding planning, the skeptical public, the hurt feelings, the international complications, they were going to make this work. After all, he talked down the Nine Tails, befriended Gaara, saved Sasuke, and stopped a war. Making a marriage work with an ancient goddess? How hard could it be? The journey back to Konohagakure was unlike any Naruto had ever experienced. Normally, he would have traveled with his friends, running along tree branches and trading jokes with the others. But now he walked beside Kagaya, who floated a few inches above the ground with unconscious grace, her white robes trailing behind her like morning mist. The other shinobi gave them a wide berth. They still fear you, Naruto observed as another group of cloud ninja quickly changed direction to avoid crossing their path. Fear is a useful tool, Kagaya replied, her tone neutral. It keeps potential threats at a distance. But we're not trying to keep people at a distance anymore, Naruto pointed out. That's kind of the whole point of this. We're trying to build bridges, not walls. Kagaya was silent for a moment, processing this. I do not know how to build bridges. I only know walls. They have kept me alive, kept me sane, for longer than your civilization has existed. The admission was vulnerable enough that Naruto felt a pang of sympathy. Then I'll teach you. That's what we do for people we care about. We teach them things they don't know. And what will you teach me first? There was something almost curious in her voice. Naruto grinned. How to eat ramen. Kagaya blinked, the first truly confused expression he'd seen on her face. Ramen? The food of the gods, Naruto declared solemnly. Well, the food of this god in training, anyway. You can't live in Konoha without experiencing Ichiraku's ramen. It's basically a law. I do not require food, Kagaya pointed out. My body sustains itself through chakra alone. Yeah, but eating isn't just about sustaining yourself, Naruto explained. It's about the experience, about enjoying flavors, about sitting down with people and sharing a meal. It's one of those human things that makes life worth living. Kagaya considered this, her expression thoughtful. Very well. If you believe this ramen is important, I will try it. Yes. Naruto pumped his fist in victory. Trust me, you're going to love it. Behind them, Sasuke watched the exchange with his Rinnegan, still alert for any sign of deception or danger. Sakura walked beside him, her medical bag slung over her shoulder. He's treating this like it's completely normal, Sakura muttered. Like he didn't just get engaged to the most powerful being in existence. That's Naruto, Sasuke said with a hint of what might have been amusement. He could make friends with a natural disaster if given the chance. He basically did with Kurama. This is different though, Sakura insisted. Kurama was sealed inside him. They had to learn to coexist. But this? This is voluntary. He chose this. He always chooses the hard path, Sasuke observed. The one no one else would take. It's aggravating and admirable in equal measure. Sakura glanced at him. You think he can actually make this work? Marriage to Kagaya? Sasuke was quiet for a long moment. If anyone can, it's him. He has a gift for changing people, for making them want to be better than they are. He did it for me, after all. The admission hung in the air between them, a rare moment of vulnerability from the last Uchiha. Sakura smiled slightly. Yeah. He did. Konohagakure appeared on the horizon as the sun reached its peak, the Hokage monument standing proud against the bright sky. Naruto felt the familiar surge of emotion he always experienced when seeing his home. Pride, belonging, love for this place and its people. Beside him, Kagaya stopped floating, her feet touching the ground for the first time since they'd left the battlefield. Her eyes were fixed on the village, her expression unreadable. This is where my grandson built his civilization, she said softly. Where Hagoromo's dream took root. I had wondered what became of it, during my centuries of sealing. I had imagined it destroyed, fallen to the same violence and hatred that plagued humanity in my time. It's not perfect, Naruto admitted. We've had our share of violence and hatred too. Wars, betrayals, pain. But we've also had moments of incredible kindness and courage. People who choose to protect others even when it costs them everything. That's what makes it worth fighting for. I see the sage's influence in the architecture, Kagaya observed, her Byakugan active as she scanned the village. And something else, the first Hokages would release techniques, woven into the very foundations. Interesting. He was an Asura incarnate, was he not? Hashirama Senju, Naruto confirmed. He's kind of a legend. Built the village with Madara Uchiha, before everything went wrong between them. The cycle of Indra and Asura, Kagaya's voice carried a note of bitterness. My grandson's feud, reincarnated again and again through the generations. Such a waste. It's broken now though, Sasuke interjected, coming up beside them. Naruto and I, we ended that cycle. We chose friendship over hatred. Kagaya's gaze shifted to Sasuke, studying him with new interest. The current Indra incarnate. Yes, I can see it now, the same stubborn pride, the same hunger for power, but tempered by something my grandson never possessed. Loyalty to something beyond yourself. Sasuke stiffened slightly at being analyzed so clinically, but didn't respond. Naruto jumped in quickly. Come on, let's get into the village. I want to show you around before people start mobbing us with questions, but avoiding questions proved impossible. The moment they passed through Konoha's gates, words spread like wildfire. People emerged from shops and homes, lining the streets to stare at the impossible sight. Naruto Uzumaki walking hand in hand with the rabbit goddess herself. The reactions varied wildly. Some people looked terrified, pulling their children close. Others seemed awed, bowing deeply as if in the presence of a deity. Still others looked angry or suspicious, their hands twitching toward weapons they no longer carried. Kagaya's grip on Naruto's hand tightened almost imperceptibly. He could feel her chakra beginning to rise, that instinctive defensive response to perceived threat. Hey, he said softly, squeezing her hand. It's okay. They're just scared and confused. Give them time. They look at me with such hatred, Kagaya murmured. As if I am a monster to be destroyed. Some of them do, Naruto agreed honestly. But some of them are just curious. And some of them, look, see that kid over there? He pointed to a small boy, no more than 5 or 6, who was staring at Kagaya with wide, wonder-filled eyes. The child wasn't afraid. He was fascinated, looking at her the way one might look at a character from a fairy tale come to life. He doesn't see a monster, Naruto continued. He just sees someone amazing. That's the thing about kids. They don't have all the baggage adults have. They see things fresh. The boy suddenly broke free from his mother's grasp and ran toward them, his small legs carrying him with the fearless enthusiasm of childhood. His mother cried out in alarm. But before she could grab him, the boy stopped in front of Kagaya and bowed clumsily. Are you really a goddess? He asked. his voice filled with innocent wonder. Kagaya stared down at the child, and for a moment, Naruto saw something complex flash across her face, memory, perhaps, of a time when her own sons had looked at her with similar wonder, before everything had gone wrong. I am Kagaya, she said carefully, as if uncertain how to address a child. What is your name? I'm Takashi, the boy announced proudly. My dad says you're going to marry Naruto Nizan. Is that true? It is true, Kagaya confirmed. That's so cool. Takashi's eyes went even wider. Does that mean you're going to live here? In Konoha? I suppose it does, Kagaya said, and she sounded almost surprised by her own answer. Takashi's mother finally reached them, out of breath and apologetic. I'm so sorry, Lady Kagaya, he just ran off before I could. It is acceptable, Kagaya interrupted, still looking at the boy. He meant no harm. Can you show me some cool goddess powers? Takashi asked eagerly, oblivious to the adult's tension. Kagaya glanced at Naruto, who nodded encouragingly. After a moment's hesitation, she extended her free hand. A small sphere of chakra formed above her palm, then split into multiple colors, red, blue, green, gold, each one dancing and weaving around the others in an intricate pattern. It was beautiful, mesmerizing, and completely harmless. Takashi gasped in delight, clapping his hands. Wow! That's amazing! Other children had started to gather, drawn by Takashi's excitement and the pretty lights. Soon Kagaya was surrounded by half a dozen kids, all chattering excitedly and asking to see more. She looked overwhelmed but not displeased, her usually stoic expression softening into something approaching bemusement. She's good with them, Sakura observed quietly, standing with Naruto as they watched. I wasn't expecting that. She had kids of her own once, Naruto replied. Maybe she remembers what it was like, before everything went wrong. The display attracted more adults, and gradually the atmosphere shifted. People were still wary, still uncertain, but the sight of the fearsome rabbit goddess gently entertaining children was at odds with the monster they'd been told to fear. It was humanizing in a way no amount of speeches or declarations could match. Eventually, Kagaya gently dismissed the children, her small chakra display fading. Takashi hugged her leg impulsively before his mother could stop him, then ran off giggling. Kagaya stared after him with an expression of profound confusion. Physical affection from strangers, she said to Naruto. Is this normal? From kids? Yeah, pretty much, Naruto laughed. They don't really have boundaries yet. You get used to it. I am not certain I will ever get used to any of this, Kagaya admitted. That's okay. I'm not used to being engaged to a goddess, so we're even. They continued through the village, drawing stares but fewer panicked reactions now. Word of the children's interaction was already spreading. Naruto could hear people whispering about it, saw the subtle shift in body language from hostile to curious. Public opinion is a strange thing, Kagaya observed. One moment of gentleness, and suddenly I am less threatening in their eyes. It's because you showed them you're not just power and destruction, Naruto explained. You showed them you can be gentle, that you care about not scaring kids. That makes you real to them, not just a legend or a threat. They finally reached Ichiraku Ramen, the small stand that had been Naruto's second home for most of his life. Tucci, the owner, looked up from his cooking and froze, his eyes going wide. And Naruto? And is she? Hey, old man. Naruto greeted cheerfully, sliding onto his usual stool. This is Kagaya, my fiancé. Kagaya, this is Tucci and his daughter Ayam. They make the best ramen in all of Konoha. In all the world, you mean, I am corrected, emerging from the back. She took one look at Kagaya and her professional smile wavered only slightly. Welcome to Ichiraku's, Lady Kagaya. What can we get for you? I have never consumed ramen, Kagaya said, settling onto the stool beside Naruto with surprising grace. Naruto believes I should try it. Never had ramen? Tucci looked personally offended. Well, we'll have to fix that immediately. I'll make you something special. My best work. As Tucci bustled about preparing their order, Ayam leaned against the counter, studying Kagaya with frank curiosity. So you're really going to marry Naruto? Our Naruto? Ayam, Kagaya confirmed. That's wow. I mean, congratulations? I think? Ayam shook her head. Sorry, this is just surreal. I've known Naruto since he was a kid. I never imagined he'd end up marrying someone like you. No offense. None taken, Kagaya said. I imagine few people expected any of this. You've got that right, I am agreed. But if Naruto vouches for you, that's good enough for me. He's never steered us wrong before. She smiled warmly. Welcome to the neighborhood. The simple acceptance seemed to catch Kagaya off guard. She blinked, processing, then inclined her head slightly. Thank you. Tucci placed 2 steaming bowls in front of them, Naruto's usual miso ramen with extra pork, and for Kagaya, a beautifully arranged bowl with a clear broth, delicate vegetables, and perfectly cooked noodles. This is ramen? Kagaya asked, studying the bowl like it was a scientific specimen. This is art, Naruto corrected around a mouthful of noodles. Come on, try it. You use the chopsticks like this, he demonstrated, and Kagaya mimicked the movement with the perfect precision of someone who could master any physical technique instantly. She lifted a small portion of noodles to her mouth, hesitated, then ate. The change in her expression was subtle but unmistakable. Her eyes widened fractionally, and she paused, clearly experiencing something unexpected. This is pleasant, she said slowly. The warmth, the texture, the combination of flavors. I had not realized food could be so complex. Right. Naruto grinned. It's not just about nutrition. It's about the experience, about enjoying something that someone made with care. That's what Tucci does. He doesn't just make ramen, he puts love into every bowl. Love, Kagaya repeated, taking another bite. An emotion I have not associated with anything, in a very long time. She continued eating, methodical but clearly appreciating each mouthful. Tucci watched with barely concealed pride, while Ayam smiled knowingly. Naruto felt a surge of warmth in his chest. This was working. This simple act of sharing a meal, of introducing Kagaya to something he loved, was building a bridge between her world and his. So, Ayam said conversationally, wiping down the counter, when's the wedding? Have you set a date yet? Not yet, Naruto admitted. There's a lot to figure out first. Treaties, agreements, all that political stuff. The Kagas are working on it. But when you do have it, it'll be here in Konoha, right? I am pressed. It should be somewhere meaningful to you. Naruto looked at Kagaya, who met his gaze calmly. What do you think? Should we have the wedding here, in my home village? I have no attachment to any location, Kagaya said. But if this place is important to you, then it seems appropriate. Though I confess I know nothing about human wedding customs. In my time, such ceremonies were rare and purely functional. Then we'll make ours special, Naruto decided. We'll combine traditions, some shinobi customs, some new things we create ourselves. Make it actually mean something. Creating new traditions, Kagaya mused. Yes. That appeals to me more than simply following old patterns. The past did not serve me well. Perhaps the future will be kinder. They finished their ramen in comfortable silence, and when Kagaya set down her chopsticks, there was something approaching contentment in her expression. Thank you, Tucci, she said formally. Your skill is considerable. I understand now why Naruto speaks so highly of this establishment. Tucci beamed. You're welcome anytime, Lady Kagaya. In fact, your first bowl is on the house. A wedding present, you could say. I do not have currency, Kagaya admitted. I had not considered the need for it. Don't worry about it, Naruto said quickly, pulling out his frog wallet. I've got it. Besides, we'll need to figure out the whole money situation eventually. Can't have you going around without any way to buy things. I could simply create what I need, Kagaya pointed out. Yeah, but that would kind of break the economy, Naruto said. Plus, part of being human, or at least, part of living with humans, is participating in society. Trading goods and services, that kind of thing. More rules and structures, Kagaya sighed. Human civilization is endlessly complicated. It can be, Naruto agreed. But it's also kind of amazing, once you get used to it. All these different people working together, creating things, building communities. It's messy and imperfect, but it's real. They left Ichiraku's as the afternoon sun began to slant toward evening. Naruto led Kagaya through the streets of Konoha, pointing out significant locations, the academy where he trained, the Hokage Tower where the village was governed, the training grounds where he'd learned his jutsu. And over there, Naruto said, pointing to a modest apartment building, is where I live. It's not much, but it's home. They climbed the stairs to his apartment, and Naruto felt a sudden wave of embarrassment as he opened the door. He hadn't exactly been keeping the place clean. Dirty dishes were piled in the sink, training equipment was scattered across the floor, and his bed was unmade. Sorry about the mess, he muttered, quickly gathering up some of the clutter. I wasn't really expecting to bring anyone home when I left for the war. Kagaya moved through the small space slowly, examining everything with careful attention. She picked up a photograph on the shelf, Team 7 again, a different one from the picture he'd given her, this one showing them older, more battle-worn. You keep many images of your companions, she observed. They're important to me, Naruto said. I like being reminded of the people I care about, the memories we've made. Helps keep me grounded. I have no such mementos, Kagaya said quietly. I destroyed everything that reminded me of my sons after they sealed me. I could not bear to look upon reminders of their betrayal. Maybe that's part of the problem, Naruto suggested gently. Maybe if you'd kept something, some good memories to balance out the bad, it wouldn't have hurt so much. Or at least, the hurt wouldn't have been all you had. Kagaya set the photograph down carefully. Perhaps. But I cannot change the past, only attempt to build a different future. And that's exactly what we're doing, Naruto said. He looked around the small apartment, suddenly seeing it through her eyes, cramped, messy, thoroughly ordinary. This probably isn't suitable for you though. I mean, you're used to dimensions and palaces and I am used to nothing, Kagaya interrupted. For 1,000 years, I existed in a void. No space, no comfort, no sensation beyond my own consciousness. This, she gestured to the apartment, is more than I have had and longer than you can imagine. The admission was stark, painful in its honesty. Naruto felt his throat tighten with emotion. Then we'll make it better, he promised. We'll find a place that works for both of us. Somewhere you can feel safe and comfortable, where we can build our life together. Kagaya looked at him for a long moment, her expression softer than he'd ever seen it. You truly mean that? Every promise you make, you intend to keep. Of course I do, Naruto said. That's my ninja way, never going back on my word. When I say I'll do something, I do it. Such certainty, Kagaya murmured. Such unwavering conviction. No wonder you were able to reach me when no one else could. You simply do not comprehend the concept of giving up. Giving up is for people who don't have anything worth fighting for, Naruto said. I've always had people worth fighting for. My friends, my village, my dreams. And now I'm fighting for us too. For this future we're trying to build. Kagaya reached out and touched his face, her palm cool against his cheek. I will try to be worthy of such dedication, Naruto Uzumaki. I will try to learn these human customs, to understand this world you love so much, to be the partner you deserve. You already are, Naruto said, covering her hand with his. You're trying, and that's all I ask. We'll figure out the rest together. They stood like that for a moment, in the fading light of Naruto's small apartment, two impossible people beginning to understand each other. Outside, Konoha continued its evening routine, shopkeepers closing up, families gathering for dinner, shinobi returning from missions. The world was changing, shifting to accommodate something unprecedented. And at the center of it all were Naruto and Kagaya, learning to trust each other one small step at a time. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was real, and it was theirs. And for now, that was enough. 3 weeks had passed since the end of the war, and Konoha had transformed into something between a construction site and a festival ground. The upcoming wedding had galvanized the entire village, and by extension, the entire shinobi world, into a frenzy of preparation that made even the Chunin exams look subdued by comparison. Naruto stood in the Hokage's office, surrounded by what felt like the 100th stack of documents requiring his attention. Across the desk, Tsunade looked equally exhausted, her fingers massaging her temples in a futile attempt to ward off the headache that had become her constant companion. Explain to me again, she said through gritted teeth, why the Cloud Village insists on sending a full honor guard of 50 shinobi to your wedding? Because the Reikage wants to demonstrate the Cloud's commitment to the Alliance? Naruto guessed, having long since lost track of the political maneuvering behind every decision. No, it's because he wants to show strength, Kakashi corrected from his position by the window. The former Team 7 leader had been drafted into wedding planning duty, much to his dismay. He's worried that if the cloud appears weak or unprepared, the other villages might think they're vulnerable. So he's turning your wedding into a military parade. Great, Naruto sighed. That's exactly the vibe we're going for. Military parade. Really romantic. At this point I'd settle for getting through the ceremony without an international incident, Tsunade muttered. She pulled out another scroll. Speaking of incidents, we need to discuss Kagaya's modifications to the venue. Naruto winced. What did she do now? She didn't approve of the structural integrity of the ceremonial hall, Kakashi explained, trying and failing to hide his amusement. So she reinforced it with crystallized chakra. The entire building now glows faintly in the moonlight and is, according to our engineers, essentially indestructible. She was trying to help, Naruto defended. She wanted to make sure nothing could interrupt the ceremony. By making the building capable of withstanding a tailed beast attack? Tsunade raised an eyebrow. That's not helping, that's paranoia. She's still learning about appropriate responses, Naruto said. Give her a break, will you? This is all new to her. Tsunade's expression softened slightly. I know, brat. And honestly, she's doing better than I expected. No one's died, nothing's been destroyed, and she's actually made an effort to interact with people. That's more than I dared hope for 3 weeks ago. It was true. Kagaya had surprised everyone, including herself, by gradually integrating into Konoha life. She still drew stares and whispers wherever she went, still made people nervous with her overwhelming presence, but there had been progress. She'd started visiting the academy, observing classes with an intensity that initially terrified Irika but gradually became accepted. She'd attended a village council meeting, sitting silently but attentively through hours of bureaucratic discussion. She'd even helped repair some of the war damage, using her abilities to restore buildings and heal the land with a precision that left the construction crews in awe. But it was the small moments that Naruto treasured most. Kagaya learning to brew tea, her movements precise but her expression focused with genuine concentration. Kagaya reading through scrolls about human customs and traditions, occasionally asking questions that revealed just how alien this world was to her. Kagaya sitting beside him on his apartment roof at night, watching the stars in silence but no longer seeming quite so alone. Where is she now? Kakashi asked. With Sakura and Ino, Naruto answered. They're doing wedding dress stuff. Something about traditional versus contemporary and cultural sensitivity. Honestly, I stopped understanding what they were talking about after the first 10 minutes. Wise choice, Tsunade approved. Never get involved in wedding dress decisions. That way lies madness. A knock at the door interrupted them, and Shikamaru entered, looking as exhausted as everyone else. As the primary coordinator for the international aspects of the wedding, he'd been working essentially non-stop. Updates, he announced without preamble, dropping into a chair. The Sand delegation arrives tomorrow. Gaara's bringing his siblings and about 30 guards. The Mist contingent is already here. May wanted extra time to ensure proper accommodations, which really means she wanted to scope out potential political advantages. Typical, Tsunade muttered. The stone is sending representatives but Inoki himself won't attend. Health concerns, apparently. And the cloud. Shikamaru paused, looking pained. The cloud is bringing the Raikage, Killer Bee, and yes, those 50 guards we discussed. This is a wedding, not a Kage summit, Naruto protested. It's both, Shikamaru corrected. Whether we like it or not, this ceremony is one of the most significant political events in shinobi history. We're not just marrying you off, Naruto. We're establishing a new world order with Kagaya as a central figure. Every village wants to make sure they're positioned correctly for whatever comes next. What about the treaties? Kakashi asked. Has Kagaya agreed to the final terms? She signed off yesterday, Shikamaru confirmed. Though she insisted on adding a clause about retaining the right to defend herself if attacked. The other Kages weren't happy, but they agreed it was reasonable. Of course she needs to defend herself, Naruto said. We're not asking her to be helpless. No, we're asking her to be predictable and controllable, which is almost as bad from her perspective, Shikamaru observed. The fact that she's agreeing to any restrictions at all is remarkable. I think she's doing it entirely for your sake, Naruto. The weight of that responsibility settled on Naruto's shoulders once again. Kagaya was changing, adapting, compromising, all because she'd made a promise to him, because she trusted him not to betray her the way her sons had. No pressure or anything. Right, Tsunade said, pulling out yet another document. Let's go over the ceremony sequence one more time. Naruto, pay attention this time. I paid attention last time. You fell asleep during the explanation of the traditional vow exchange. It was really boring. It's your wedding, you insufferable brat. Meanwhile, across the village, Kagaya sat in the Yamanaka flower shop, surrounded by fabric swatches, design sketches, and two very determined kunoichi. I still think the traditional white would be appropriate, Sakura argued, holding up a sketch of a conventional wedding kimono. It's classic, elegant, and it has centuries of cultural significance. But it's also what every bride wears, Ino countered, presenting her own design, something more elaborate, with flowing sleeves and intricate embroidery. Kagaya isn't just any bride. She's the mother of chakra. Her dress should reflect that, something unique, powerful, memorable. Kagaya looked between the two designs with an expression of deep confusion. I do not understand why this decision requires such extensive deliberation. It is merely clothing. Both women turned to stare at her with identical expressions of horror. Merely clothing? Ino repeated faintly. It's your wedding dress, Sakura exclaimed. It's one of the most important garments you'll ever wear. This is what you'll be wearing when you marry Naruto, when you make the most significant commitment of your life. I have already made that commitment, Kagaya pointed out logically. The clothing is simply a formality. Ino pinched the bridge of her nose. Okay, let me try to explain this differently. The wedding dress isn't just about function, it's about symbolism, about expressing who you are and what this moment means to you. When people look back at your wedding, this is what they'll remember. This is what will be captured in photographs and paintings and historical records. Historical records, Kagaya repeated, something shifting in her expression. I had not considered that aspect. My marriage will be documented, preserved for future generations? Are you kidding? Sakura said. This wedding is going to be in history books for centuries. The marriage of Naruto Uzumaki and Kagaya Otsutsuki. The union that changed the world. Probably with pictures and everything. For the first time, Kagaya looked genuinely interested in the dress discussion. Then perhaps the choice does merit consideration. I would not want to be remembered wearing something inappropriate. Finally, Ino said triumphantly. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What do you want people to see when they look at you? What do you want to convey? Kagaya was silent for a long moment, her eyes distant. I want them to see that I am no longer what I was. That I am not the monster who tried to enslave them, but someone who is trying, changing. I want them to see that Naruto's faith in me was not misplaced. The raw honesty of the statement made both kunoichi pause. Sakura's expression softened. Then we'll design something that shows exactly that, she said gently. Something that honors your heritage but also represents this new beginning. A blend of old and new, power and peace. How would one convey such concepts through fabric and thread? Kagaya asked, genuinely curious. That's where the art comes in, Ino explained, warming to the subject. We use symbolism, colors, patterns, materials. White for purity and new beginnings. Gold or silver threading to represent your divine nature. Maybe incorporate some traditional Otsutsuki symbols, if you have any, alongside shinobi motifs. The Otsutsuki use celestial imagery, Kagaya said slowly. Moons, stars, the void between worlds. We saw ourselves as beings of the cosmos, above terrestrial concerns. Perfect. Ino started sketching rapidly. We can work with that. A white base, maybe with a gradient to deep blue at the hem, like the sky transitioning to space. Silver embroidery depicting stars and moons, but arranged in patterns that also incorporate the leaf symbol and other shinobi elements. It would show the joining of two worlds, celestial and earthly, goddess and mortal. Kagaya watched the sketch take shape, her expression thoughtful. Yes. That feels appropriate. It tells a story. Every good wedding dress tells a story, Sakura agreed. And yours is going to be one for the ages. As Ino continued sketching and Sakura began pulling fabric samples, Hinata entered the shop. She'd been avoiding Kagaya since that first day, the pain of seeing Naruto with someone else still too fresh. But she promised herself she would be strong, would support her friend even if it broke her heart. Hinata! Sakura looked up in surprise. I didn't expect to see you here. I wanted to help, Hinata said quietly, her voice steady despite the emotions churning inside her. With the wedding preparations. If that's acceptable. Kagaya turned to study the Hyuga heiress, her Byakugan analyzing the young woman who loved Naruto with such quiet devotion. You still carry feelings for him. It wasn't a question, and Hinata didn't try to deny it. I do. I probably always will. But Naruto made his choice, and I respect that. He's happy with you, and that's what matters, is it? Kagaya asked. Even when it causes you pain? Especially then, Hinata said, and there was steel beneath her gentle words. Love isn't about possession or getting what you want. It's about wanting the other person to be happy, even if their happiness doesn't include you. Naruto deserves happiness, and if you can give him that, then I'm glad he found you. The shop fell silent. Ino and Sakura exchanged glances, both impressed and saddened by Hinata's grace under impossible circumstances. Kagaya stood and approached Hinata slowly. You are stronger than my grandsons ever were. They could not accept my happiness when it conflicted with their vision of what I should be. But you can accept Naruto's choice even when it hurts you. She inclined her head slightly, a gesture of genuine respect. I honor your strength, Hinata Hyuga. Hinata's eyes widened, surprised by the acknowledgement. Thank you, Lady Kagaya. Simply Kagaya, the goddess corrected. We are to be, what is the term? You carry Homura's bloodline, making you my distant descendant. We are family in a sense, and if you wish to assist with these preparations, I would welcome it. Sakura and Ino have been patient teachers, but I sense I will need all the guidance I can receive. A tentative smile crossed Hinata's face. Then I'll help however I can. As the four women bent over dress designs and flower arrangements, an unexpected camaraderie began to form. Kagaya asked questions about human customs, her genuine curiosity overcoming her usual reserve. Hinata explained the significance of various traditions, her encyclopedic knowledge of etiquette proving invaluable. Ino contributed creative flair, while Sakura kept everything organized and on track. What about flowers? Ino asked. For your bouquet and the decorations. Do you have any preferences? I have not thought about Flora Indiana. Kagaya paused, calculating. A very long time. In my youth, before coming to this world, there were bioluminescent plants on my homeworld. They glowed in colors this planet does not possess. Could you recreate them? Sakura asked, intrigued. With your abilities? Kagaya considered this. Perhaps. Though I hesitate to introduce alien species to this ecosystem. The consequences could be catastrophic. What if you just created them temporarily? Hinata suggested. Just for the wedding day, then let them fade afterward. That way you'd have flowers that are meaningful to you without risking environmental damage. A compromise, Kagaya said approvingly. Yes, that could work. I could sustain them with my chakra for the duration of the ceremony, then allow them to dissipate. It would be fitting, a glimpse of what was, honoring my past while not letting it overshadow the future. That's beautiful, Ino said sincerely. And completely unique. No other bride has ever carried flowers from another world. As the afternoon wore on and planning continued, Kagaya found herself experiencing something she hadn't felt in millennia. The simple pleasure of female companionship. These women didn't worship her or fear her. Well, they feared her a little, but they were overcoming it. They treated her as one of them, included her in their jokes and discussions, corrected her when she made cultural mistakes without condescension. It was nice. I have a question, Kagaya said during a lull in the planning. About the ceremony itself. Naruto will speak vows, promising commitment and partnership. I am expected to do the same, but I do not know what promises I should make. What does a human wife promise her husband? The question was vulnerable, almost childlike in its uncertainty. These women, who had lived their entire lives immersed in human culture, took for granted the social contracts that Kagaya had never learned. Sakura set down her notes, giving Kagaya her full attention. Traditionally, The vows include promises to love, honor, and cherish. To stand by each other in good times and bad. To be faithful, supportive, and honest. But really, the specific words matter less than the intention behind them. The intention, Kagaya repeated. To commit fully, to prioritize the relationship, to choose your partner again and again even when it would be easier to walk away. Exactly, Hinata said softly. Marriage is a choice you make every day, not just once at the altar. Kagaya absorbed this, her expression thoughtful. Every day, she murmured. A continuous commitment, not a single moment of decision. Yes, I understand. That is why Naruto's promise meant something. Because he continues to choose it, even when circumstances make it difficult. He really cares about you, Sakura observed. I've known Naruto a long time, and I've never seen him this focused on making something work. He talks about you constantly. What you learned that day, something funny you said, how you're adapting. He's invested in this relationship in a way I wasn't sure he was capable of. He has a gift for caring, Kagaya said quietly. For seeing the potential in people others have given up on. He looked at me, at the monster who tried to enslave his world, and saw someone worth saving, someone capable of change. How does one respond to such faith except by trying to be worthy of it? By being yourself, Ino said firmly. Naruto doesn't want you to be perfect, he wants you to be genuine. That's the person he chose to marry. My genuine self attempted to put the world in an eternal genjutsu. Your genuine self was hurt and scared and responding to trauma in the only way she knew how, Sakura corrected. Your genuine self now is someone trying to heal, to learn, to build something better. That's who Naruto sees, and that's who we're coming to know too. Kagaya looked at each of them in turn. Sakura with her fierce loyalty and practical strength, Ino with her creative spirit and sharp intelligence, Hinata with her quiet courage and selfless heart. These were good people, she realized. The kind of people worth protecting, worth changing for. Thank you, she said simply. For helping me prepare for this. For accepting me, despite everything. I do not take it for granted. You're marrying our friend, Sakura said with a slight smile. That makes you part of our circle, whether you like it or not. We take care of our own. Besides, Ino added with a mischievous grin, someone needs to make sure you don't show up to your wedding in that white robe you always wear. No offense, but you need an upgrade. For the first time, Kagaya laughed, a genuine, surprised sound that made all three women pause in shock. It was brief, quickly stifled as if she'd forgotten how to let herself express joy. But it was real. An upgrade, she repeated, amusement coloring her tone. Very well. I defer to your expertise in matters of appropriate wedding attire. That evening, Naruto and Kagaya met on the Hokage monument, sitting atop the fourth Hokage's head as the sun set over Konoha. It had become their routine, ending each day together, sharing what they'd learned, slowly building the foundation of their relationship. Sakura says you actually laughed today, Naruto said, unable to keep the delight out of his voice. For real laughed, not just that polite smile thing you do. It was involuntary, Kagaya protested, but there was no real complaint in her tone. Ino made an unexpected jest about wedding attire. The absurdity caught me unprepared. That's great though. Naruto enthused. That means you're relaxing, letting your guard down. That's what we want, is it? Kagaya asked. Letting one's guard down is how one gets hurt. How one gets betrayed. Or how one makes real connections, Naruto countered gently. You can't build trust without some vulnerability, Kagaya. I know it's scary. Believe me, I know, but it's necessary. Kagaya leaned against his shoulder, a gesture that had taken weeks to become comfortable. You make it sound simple, as if trust is merely a decision one makes, rather than a leap into darkness with no guarantee of safe landing. It kind of is though, Naruto admitted. Every time I trusted someone, Iruka-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, my teammates, it was a risk. They could have let me down, betrayed me, used me. But they didn't, and even when things got complicated, even when we fought or disagreed, the foundation of trust held. Not everyone is as fortunate in their trust, Kagaya said quietly. No, Naruto agreed. Sometimes people do let you down. Sometimes trust gets broken. But that doesn't mean it wasn't worth trying. The alternative, Never trusting anyone, staying alone forever. That's worse than any betrayal could be. They sat in silence for a while, watching the lights of Konoha begin to twinkle in the growing darkness. Somewhere in the village, preparations for their wedding continued. In 3 days they would stand before the assembled shinobi world and make their commitment official. Are you nervous? Naruto asked. About the wedding? Terrified, Kagaya admitted. All those people watching, judging, waiting to see if I fail. What if I make a mistake? What if I prove them right to fear me? Then we'll deal with it together, Naruto said firmly. That's what partners do. You're not alone in this anymore, Kagaya. When you stumble, I'll be there to catch you. And when I mess up, which, let's be honest, I definitely will, you'll be there for me. Mutual support, Kagaya said. Sakura mentioned that concept in our discussion. That marriage is not one person sacrificing for another, but both people strengthening each other. Exactly. We're a team now. Team Uzumaki, I guess, since you'll be taking my name. Will I? Kagaya turned to look at him. We have not discussed this. In my time, such things were not, that is, names were more fluid. But if human custom dictates that I should adopt your family name, I will do so. Only if you want to, Naruto said. I'm not going to force you to give up your identity. You're Kagaya Otsutsuki, the mother of chakra. That means something. It means I am the being who nearly destroyed this world, Kagaya said bitterly. Perhaps a new name would be appropriate. A fresh start, unburdened by that history. Or maybe we keep both, Naruto suggested. Kagaya Otsutsuki Uzumaki. You honor where you came from while also embracing where you're going. You don't have to erase your past to build a future. Kagaya considered this, her expression softening. Both. Yes, I like that. I am both goddess and wife, both ancient being and new beginning. Kagaya Otsutsuki Uzumaki. She tested the name, letting each syllable settle. It feels right. Then that's what it'll be, Naruto said, grinning. Man, our kids are going to have the longest names ever. Kagaya went very still. Children? Well, yeah, eventually, Naruto said, suddenly realizing he might have jumped ahead too far. I mean, not right away. We should probably figure out the whole being married thing first. But someday, maybe? If you want? I had not considered. Kagaya trailed off, her hand unconsciously moving to her abdomen. After my sons betrayed me, I swore I would never bear children again. The pain of that loss was too great. I'm sorry, Naruto said quickly. I shouldn't have assumed. If you don't want kids, that's completely okay. I just thought, but perhaps, Kagaya interrupted, perhaps with you, it could be different. You are not Hagoromo or Hamura. You are something entirely new, and a child born of our union would be either fully Otsutsuki nor fully human, but something unprecedented. The first true bridge between our peoples. That's a lot of pressure to put on a hypothetical kid, Naruto pointed out. Yes, Kagaya agreed. Which is why we should wait, as you suggested. Learn to be partners first, before attempting to be parents. But the possibility does not frighten me as much as I expected it to. That's progress, Naruto said warmly. You're thinking about the future, about possibilities instead of just dangers. That's huge. The moon rose over Konoha, nearly full, bathing everything in silver light. Kagaya looked up at it with an expression Naruto couldn't quite read. Longing, perhaps, or remembrance. In 3 days, she said softly, I will stand before this world and bind myself to you in a way that cannot easily be undone. I will make promises I have never made before, commit to a future I cannot fully envision. It should terrify me more than it does. But it doesn't? Naruto asked hopefully. It does, Kagaya admitted. But beneath the fear is something else. Something I thought I had lost forever. Hope. The belief that perhaps this time, things might actually work. That I might finally find what I have been searching for across millennia. Belonging. Purpose. Peace. You'll find it, Naruto promised. We'll find it together. Kagaya turned to him, her pale eyes luminous in the moonlight. You have such faith. In me, in yourself, in the future. Where does it come from, this absolute conviction that things will work out? From every time things didn't work out, but I kept going anyway, Naruto said honestly. From every person who told me I'd fail who I proved wrong. From every impossible situation I somehow made possible. And from you, from the fact that you're here, trying, changing, despite 1,000 years of reasons not to. If you can do that, then anything's possible. She kissed him then, sudden and impulsive, her cool lips meeting his with a tenderness that belied her divine nature. It was not their first kiss. They'd been practicing, awkwardly learning this most human of intimacies. But it felt different somehow. More certain. More real. When they parted, Kagaya's expression held wonder. 3 days, she repeated. In 3 days, the entire world changes. Yeah, Naruto agreed, his heart racing. It really does. Below them, Konoha continued its preparations, unaware of the moment of connection happening above. In 3 days, the wedding of the century would take place. Alliances would be forged, history would be made, and 2 impossible people would stand before gods and humans alike and promise to build something unprecedented. But for now, in this moment, it was just Naruto and Kagaya, sitting beneath the moon, dreaming of a future neither had expected but both were beginning to hope for. The world was changing indeed. And for once, it was changing for the better. The wedding had been everything Naruto had feared and more, a spectacular, overwhelming, politically charged ceremony that had gone almost perfectly. Almost, because in the moment when Kagaya was supposed to recite her vows, she had frozen, overwhelmed by the thousands of eyes watching her, judging her, waiting for her to fail. But Naruto had simply taken her hands, smiled that impossibly bright smile of his, and whispered, "Just talk to me. Forget everyone else. It's just you and me, remember?" And she had. She'd looked into his eyes and spoken her vows, not the carefully rehearsed words Sakura had helped her prepare, but something raw and honest that came from a place deeper than conscious thought. "I promised to try," she had said, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. "To be more than what I was. To choose connection over control, trust over fear, tomorrow over yesterday. I promised to stand beside you, Naruto Uzumaki, as you have stood beside me. To be worthy of the faith you have shown me. To build something new from the ruins of what came before." There hadn't been a dry eye in the audience. Even the stoic Reikage, had been seen wiping at his face. Now, 3 days after the ceremony, Naruto stood in Kagaya's ice dimension, the same frozen wasteland where their journey had begun, marveling at how different it felt. What had once seemed hostile and alien now felt almost peaceful, the endless expanse of snow and ice gleaming under a perpetual twilight. "I thought we were going on a honeymoon," Naruto said, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air. "When you said you wanted to show me your dimensions, I was expecting something a little more tropical, maybe?" Kagaya materialized beside him, her white robes blending seamlessly with the snow. Marriage had changed something subtle in her demeanor. She stood a little less rigidly, smiled a fraction more readily, touched him with increasing ease. "This was the first dimension I created," she explained, gesturing to the frozen landscape. "After I consumed the chakra fruit, after I gained these abilities, I was frightened by what I had become. I fled here, to a place where nothing could follow, where I could be alone with my new reality. I made it cold because I felt cold, isolated, separate from everything I had known." Naruto looked at the landscape with new understanding. "It's not just a battlefield. It's a memory. A piece of your story. All my dimensions are," Kagaya confirmed. "Each one represents a different aspect of my experience, my emotions, my understanding of reality. I thought, if we are to truly know each other, if this marriage is to be built on genuine understanding, then you should see these places. See the parts of me I've kept hidden for so long. Like opening up," Naruto said softly. "Showing me who you really are, not just who you present to the world." "Exactly." Kagaya extended her hand to him. "Will you come with me? Through my memories, my pain, my history? It will not always be pleasant." Naruto took her hand without hesitation. "That's what partners do, right? We share the hard stuff, not just the easy stuff. Show me, Kagaya. Show me everything." Her grip tightened gratefully, and the world began to shift. The ice dimension dissolved, replaced by something that made Naruto gasp in wonder. They stood in a realm of impossible beauty, a vast expanse filled with crystalline structures that defied geometry, floating in a sky of colors Naruto had no names for. Great towers of what might have been stone or metal or something entirely alien spiraled upward, covered in bioluminescent patterns that pulsed with rhythmic light. This is... Naruto couldn't find words. A memory of my homeworld, Kagaya said quietly. Not Earth, but the planet where the Otsutsuki originated. Or rather, how I remember it, distorted by time and loss, idealized by nostalgia. The real place was likely less magnificent, but this is how it lives in my mind. Naruto walked forward slowly, staring at everything with wide eyes. In the distance, he could see figures, translucent, ghostly, moving between the towers. They had Kagaya's distinctive features, pale skin, elaborate horns, eyes that held terrible power. Your people, he breathed. What remains of them in my memory, Kagaya confirmed. I have been away from them for so long that I can barely recall their faces, their voices. These shades are all that survive, fragments of a life I left behind millennia ago. One of the ghostly figures approached, a tall male with 3 eyes and elaborate robes. He looked regal, powerful, and when he spoke, his words were in a language Naruto couldn't understand, yet somehow the meaning came through, a harsh reprimand, a dismissal, a declaration of unworthiness. Kagaya's expression remained neutral, but Naruto felt her hand tighten in his. Who was that? He asked gently. My father, Kagaya said flatly. Or the memory of him. He was displeased when I volunteered to come to Earth. He believed I was not strong enough, not worthy of such an important mission. He died believing I had failed. Failed how? You became the most powerful being on the planet. You had 2 sons. You literally created the foundation for all shinobi abilities. How is that failure? Because I developed feelings, Kagaya said, and the word carried weight, as if it were shameful. The Otsutsuki do not love, Naruto. We do not form attachments or emotional bonds. We are meant to be above such weakness. But I... She gestured to the memory realm around them. I looked at the humans of Earth and saw not resources to be harvested, but beings worth knowing. I met a human man, your ancestor, Tenji, and I felt something I was not supposed to feel. And then my sons came, and I loved them too, despite knowing I should not. That's not weakness, Naruto said fiercely. That's strength. That's what makes you more than just a mindless conqueror. The fact that you can care, that you can love. My father would disagree. So would the rest of the Otsutsuki clan. Kagaya turned away from the ghostly figure. To them, my attachment to you would be the ultimate proof of my deficiency. A goddess, married to a human. It is unthinkable. Good thing they're not here then, Naruto said. Because I don't care what they think. I care what you think. Do you believe loving someone makes you weak? Kagaya was quiet for a long moment. I used to. For centuries after my son's betrayal, I believed that my love for them had been my downfall. That if I had remained emotionally detached, I could have controlled them, prevented their rebellion. But now... She looked at Naruto. Now I wonder if the opposite is true, if my mistake was not in loving them, but in not understanding that love requires trust, and trust requires vulnerability. I tried to control them because I was afraid of losing them, and in trying to hold too tightly, I drove them away. That's incredibly insightful, Naruto said, genuinely impressed. Sakura lent me books, Kagaya admitted. About psychology and relationships. I have been reading extensively, Naruto laughed, the sound echoing strangely in this alien realm. Of course you have. You approach everything like a research project. Is that wrong? No, it's very you. And I love that about you. The words came out easily, naturally, and only after he'd said them did Naruto realize it was the first time he'd used that particular word. Kagaya's eyes widened. Love? Yeah, Naruto said, feeling his cheeks heat despite the alien sky above them. I mean, we're married, so it's kind of implied, but yeah. I love you, Kagaya. You're stubborn and sometimes you don't understand basic human stuff and you've tried to enslave the world. But you're also trying so hard to be better, and you're smart, and powerful, and secretly kind, and yeah. I love you. For a moment, Kagaya simply stared at him, her expression cycling through surprise, disbelief, and finally landing on something that looked like cautious joy. I do not know if I understand love correctly, she said slowly. But I know that when I am with you, the loneliness that has consumed me for a millennium lessens. I know that your approval matters to me in ways nothing has mattered in centuries. I know that the thought of losing you creates a pain I can barely contemplate. If that is love, then yes. I love you too, Naruto Uzumaki. He kissed her then, in that strange dimension of memory and loss, and felt something shift between them, a deepening of their bond, a strengthening of the promise they'd made. When they parted, the memory realm had changed subtly. The ghostly figures were fading, the towers becoming less distinct. Kagaya noticed and frowned slightly. The dimension is destabilizing. My emotional state affects these spaces. When I'm no longer dwelling in the past, the memories lose coherence. She looked around thoughtfully. I have held on to this place for so long, using it to remind myself of what I lost. But perhaps it is time to let it go. To stop defining myself by what I was and focus on what I am becoming. You don't have to let it go completely, Naruto suggested. Just maybe visit it less? Keep it as a reminder of where you came from without letting it trap you in the past. A balanced approach, Kagaya agreed. Yes, I can do that. The world shifted again. They emerged in a dimension of crushing gravity, where Naruto immediately felt the weight pressing down on him. Kagaya steadied him with her chakra, creating a protective field that allowed him to stand upright. I created this space during the war with my sons, she explained. When I realized they intended to seal me, the gravity represents how I felt, crushed by their betrayal, weighted down by the knowledge that the people I loved most wanted me gone. I thought if I could make them feel even a fraction of that weight, they would understand. They would stop. Naruto looked around at the barren landscape, feeling the oppressive force even through Kagaya's protection. This must have been horrible to experience. It was necessary, Kagaya said, but her voice lacked conviction. Or so I told myself. In truth, I was lashing out, trying to hurt them as they had hurt me. It was childish and petty and ultimately futile. It was human, Naruto corrected gently. When people hurt us, we want to hurt them back. That's normal. The question is whether we act on that impulse or rise above it. I acted on it, Kagaya admitted. And it gained me nothing but 1,000 years of imprisonment. Not exactly a successful strategy, but you're not making the same mistake now, Naruto pointed out. With all these shinobi who are scared of you, who spread rumors and talk about how dangerous you are, you're not lashing out at them, you're being patient, proving them wrong through your actions. That's growth. Growth, Kagaya repeated. Such a simple word for such a complex process. I am trying, Naruto. Every day, I try to be better than I was yesterday. Some days I succeed. Some days I fail spectacularly, like when you accidentally destroyed that training dummy because someone criticized your chakra control technique. Kagaya's expression became pained. I regret that. The criticism was valid. My technique was inefficient. I should not have responded so dramatically. You vaporized the dummy, 3 training posts, and part of the fence, Naruto said, trying not to laugh. Shikamaru's still finding bits of wood all over the training ground. I said I regret it, Kagaya said defensively. I am not accustomed to being corrected. In my time, questioning my abilities would have been unthinkable. Well, welcome to marriage, Naruto grinned. Where your partner is definitely going to correct you sometimes, and you're going to have to deal with it without destroying the furniture. Despite herself, Kagaya smiled. A reasonable expectation. I shall endeavor to limit my destructive responses to actual threats rather than perceived slights to my competence. That's all I ask. They moved through the gravity dimension, Kagaya pointing out locations where significant battles had occurred during her conflict with Hagoromo and Hamura. Naruto listened, hearing beneath the tactical descriptions the pain of a mother fighting her own children, the desperation of someone who felt the world slipping away from her control. Do you ever wonder, Naruto asked carefully, if you could go back and do it differently? If you could talk to your sons now, knowing what you know, what would you say? Kagaya was silent for a long time, her gaze distant. I would say I was afraid. That my attempts to control them came from fear of losing them, not from malice or hunger for power. I would tell them I loved them, even when I failed to show it correctly. And I would ask them to help me understand their perspective instead of simply rebelling in secret. Communication, Naruto said. That's what was missing. Yes. We never truly talked, my sons and I. I gave orders, they obeyed or disobeyed, and we existed in that pattern until it broke catastrophically. There was no dialogue, no attempt at mutual understanding. She looked at Naruto. I do not wish to repeat that pattern with you. We won't, Naruto assured her. We're already doing better, talking through problems, sharing feelings, working together. Yeah, we're going to fight sometimes. All couples do, but we'll work through it. How can you be certain? Because we both want it to work, Naruto said simply. That's like 90% of the battle right there. As long as we both keep choosing each other, keep trying, we'll figure it out. The gravity dimension began to fade, and Naruto realized Kagaya was releasing it deliberately, letting go of another painful memory. I do not need to carry this weight anymore, she said quietly. The past happened. I cannot change it. But I can choose not to let it crush me any longer. The next dimension was different from the others, not hostile or alien, but almost serene. They stood in what appeared to be an endless desert at sunset, the sky painted in brilliant oranges and purples, sand dunes stretching to infinity in every direction. This is beautiful, Naruto breathed. This is hope, Kagaya said softly. I created it during my imprisonment, in those rare moments when I could imagine a future beyond the seal. I thought about what I might do differently if given another chance. Where I might go, what I might become. This dimension represents possibility. The desert is empty, yes, but emptiness means potential. It can become anything. Naruto turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. Unlike the other dimensions, this one felt alive with potential energy, as if it were waiting for something to take shape. You were planning your comeback even then, he observed. Thinking about what you'd do when you got free. Yes, though my initial plans were less constructive than what actually occurred. I intended to complete the infinite Tsukuyomi, to ensure I could never be betrayed again. But I also fantasized about simpler things. Walking freely. Feeling the sun. Speaking with someone who did not fear or hate me. She looked at him with genuine warmth. You have given me all of that, Naruto. You freed me not just from the seal, but from my own cycle of pain and revenge. We freed each other, Naruto said. You gave me a purpose bigger than I'd ever imagined, not just saving the world, but actually changing it. Building something unprecedented. I'm the Hokage now, but I'm also the husband of a goddess, and that means thinking about peace on a completely different scale. Hokage, Kagaya repeated. Yes, Tsunade stepped down after the wedding, naming you as her successor. How does it feel, achieving your lifelong dream? Naruto considered the question seriously. Weird? Amazing? Terrifying? All of the above? I wanted this for so long, wanted people to acknowledge me, to see me as important. And now they do, but it's also this huge responsibility. Every decision I make affects thousands of people. It's what I always wanted and way more than I bargained for. Welcome to leadership, Kagaya said wryly. It is simultaneously empowering and crushing. You have the authority to change things, but also the burden of knowing your mistakes will harm innocence. Did you feel that way? When you ruled over the humans in your time? Yes and no, Kagaya admitted. I felt the weight of responsibility, but I also believed I knew better than anyone else what needed to be done. I did not question my decisions or consider alternative perspectives. My way was the only way, in my mind. That certainty made leadership easier but also more dangerous. And now I question everything, Kagaya said with something like amusement. Your influence, I suspect. You have taught me that confidence without doubt is arrogance, and that true strength includes the ability to admit uncertainty. They walked together through the desert dimension, leaving footprints in the sand that glowed faintly with residual chakra. Naruto found himself thinking about the future, about what they might build together now that the wedding was behind them. So what happens next? He asked. We've done the wedding, we're on our honeymoon, but eventually we have to go back to real life. What does that look like for us? Kagaya was quiet for a moment, considering. I do not know. I have never had a real life in the sense you mean. But I imagine it involves continuing to learn, to grow, to integrate into your society. Perhaps finding a role for myself beyond reformed world threat. You could teach, Naruto suggested. At the academy, or even at a higher level. Nobody knows more about chakra than you, You literally invented it for humans. Think of what you could share with the next generation. Teaching, Kagaya tested the word. Passing on knowledge, shaping young minds? My sons were the only students I ever had, and that ended poorly. Because you tried to control them instead of guide them, Naruto pointed out. But you know that now. You could do it differently this time. Plus, you're great with kids. Remember how they mobbed you at the wedding reception? A small smile crossed Kagaya's face. They were enthusiastic. And surprisingly fearless. That one child who asked if I could make him fly was particularly bold. And you did it! You created that little chakra platform and floated him around the reception hall. He's probably still talking about it. His parents seemed less pleased, Kagaya noted. His parents were terrified you'd drop him, but you didn't. You were gentle and careful and made sure he was safe the whole time. That's the kind of teacher you could be, powerful but protective, knowledgeable but patient. Kagaya seemed to consider this seriously. I will think about it. Perhaps when we return to Konoha, I could speak with Irika about the possibility. Start slowly, maybe guest lectures rather than full classes. That's perfect, Naruto encouraged. Baby steps. Though knowing you, once you commit to something, you'll probably end up revolutionizing the entire education system. I would not presume. You totally would, Naruto grinned. You've already got opinions about how chakra control is being taught incorrectly. I've heard you muttering about inefficient techniques and fundamental misunderstandings of energy flow. The academy does teach certain concepts in ways that create bad habits, Kagaya defended. With my knowledge, I could streamline the curriculum, reduce training time, improve overall competency. See? You're already planning the revolution, Naruto laughed. But seriously, I think you'd be great at it. You'd have purpose, connection with people, a way to contribute to society that doesn't involve fighting or politics. The desert dimension began to shimmer, and new structures started to form in the distance. Buildings that looked like a blend of Konoha's architecture and something more alien, more advanced. What's happening? Naruto asked. Kagaya looked surprised. I think I'm reshaping the dimension unconsciously. As we talk about the future, about possibilities, this space, which represents potential, is manifesting those ideas. Look, that structure there resembles the academy but enhanced. And those gardens, they look like training grounds but more sophisticated. You're literally building our future, Naruto breathed, awed by the sight. Not building, Kagaya corrected. Imagining. These are just possibilities, dreams given form. Whether they become real depends on our choices, our actions, our commitment to making them happen. Then let's make them happen, Naruto said firmly. All of it, you teaching, us building a real life together, creating something that's never existed before. A partnership between human and Otsutsuki, between Hokage and goddess, between two people who probably shouldn't work but somehow do. Kagaya turned to face him fully, her expression more open and vulnerable than he'd ever seen it. You make it sound achievable, as if our very different natures are not an insurmountable obstacle but simply a challenge to overcome. Because that's what they are, Naruto insisted. Yeah, we're different. Yeah, it'll be hard sometimes. But different doesn't mean incompatible. Look at everything we've already accomplished. We ended a war, got married, are actually making this relationship work. If we can do that, we can do anything. Your optimism is both inspiring and occasionally exhausting, Kagaya said, but she was smiling. But I find I am starting to believe you. To believe in us, in this future we're building together. She raised her hand, and the dimension responded. The imagined structures became more solid, more real. A whole city began to take shape around them, not Konoha, but something new, a place where humans and potentially other beings could coexist, where knowledge could be shared freely, where the mistakes of the past could inform a better future. Is this what you want? Kagaya asked. Not just metaphorically, but actually. Should we build something like this? A new academy, a research center, a place dedicated to advancing understanding of chakra and its applications? Naruto looked at the city taking shape around them, his mind racing with possibilities. That's actually brilliant. We could attract scholars from all the villages, create a neutral ground for research and learning. It would be like the village Hashirama and Madara dreamed of, but bigger, more inclusive. It would require significant resources, Kagaya noted practically. Funding, personnel, political approval from all 5 nations. So we make it our project, Naruto said enthusiastically. Our contribution to the world. The Hokage and his wife, creating something that benefits everyone. It's perfect. Kagaya's smile widened, and for the first time, Naruto saw genuine excitement in her eyes. Not the cold satisfaction of power or the grim determination of purpose, but real joy at the prospect of creating something positive. Then we shall do it, she declared. When we return from this honeymoon, we will present the proposal to the Kages. We will build this city of knowledge, this monument to possibility, and we will prove that the union between us was not just political convenience but the foundation for genuine change. Naruto whooped in excitement, grabbing Kagaya and spinning her around. She laughed. That same surprised, genuine laugh from the dress fitting, and the dimension responded, the imagined city blazing with light and color. We're going to change everything, Naruto said, setting her down but keeping his arms around her. Not through force or fear, but through education and cooperation and showing people what's possible when we work together. Together, Kagaya repeated, the words sounding like a revelation. Yes. I am no longer alone, facing an impossible task with no support. I have you, Naruto. My husband, my partner, my home. The last word came out quietly, almost hesitantly, as if she was afraid of claiming it. But Naruto heard it, and understood the enormity of what she was saying, that after millennia of wandering, of feeling displaced and unwelcome, she had finally found somewhere she belonged. Yeah, he said softly, pulling her close. Home. That's what we are to each other now. No matter where we go, what dimensions we travel through, what challenges we face, we're home. They stood together in the dimension of possibility, surrounded by the future they were dreaming into existence. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Kagaya felt truly at peace. The honeymoon continued through several more dimensions, each one revealing another layer of Kagaya's complex history and psyche, each one bringing them closer together, as they shared vulnerabilities and dreams. They visited her acid dimension, where she confronted memories of anger and destruction. Her lava dimension, representing the burning pain of betrayal. Her core dimension, the one connected to all the others, where the god tree had once stood. Through it all, Naruto listened, asked questions, shared his own fears and insecurities, and slowly helped Kagaya rewrite her relationship with her own past. He couldn't change what had happened, but he could help her see it differently, understand it better, and ultimately release its hold on her present. By the time they returned to Konoha a week later, something fundamental had shifted between them. They were no longer just two people bound by a political marriage or even a promise. They were genuinely connected, partners in the truest sense, ready to face whatever came next, together.